Is this it? After landing on the ground with much difficulty, Leo immediately went to the location that Anya mentioned and found a pile of bones with an intact head on a pedestal, put nicely in respect. Anya and old Jin were standing next to the altar. Leo felt a cold sensation running down his spine. His body trembled as the hairs on his arms stood on end. He felt something in his chest and his breathing quickened. Ha ha ha. I am nervous just by standing here. He smiled dryly. So this is Supreme Evil's body, huh? He could feel the intense energy emanating from the bones. They were not only emitting the familiar dark energy, but also an evil and dangerous energy. Now he understood what people said. Supreme Evil shouldn't be revived. It should be buried and destroyed to dust so the evil energy would be gone. I have felt the residue before. But this, no wonder I lost my senses before. Ha ha ha. Thanks to this lady, I was saved. But I shouldn't stay here any longer. These bones remaining chi is driving me mad. Old Jin remarked while he was walking away from the altar. His expression changed to a pale color as if he was going to faint at any time. I will leave first and tell the brat not to send anyone here. Sorry, but consider my help to repay our debt. Thank you for your cooperation. I accept the remaining debt to be paid in cash. Leo chuckled and waved his hand. See you again, old man. I will ask you again later. Ha! Stingy lads. Old Jin scoffed and disappeared into shadow, leaving only Leo and two other girls left. The place was dark with a few torches. There was no source of light, but Leo's night vision allowed him to see the surroundings. The altar was a simple thing. It was just an elevated stone that resembled a coffin with the bones laid neatly on it. There were a total of 208 bones. All of them were placed neatly on the altar, arranged in order, with the intact head placed on top. What should I do with this? Even staying here made his skin crawl. He definitely couldn't bring these bones outside. Leader, we also found a book, Anya said, showing a thick book with a leather cover. It looked old, probably made hundreds of years ago. The leather cover was cracked, but it still had its original shape and design. It seemed like a very important thing, considering how carefully the cover was designed. It even had a small metal chain around it. Leo recognized the design. It was pretty similar to the book he found in Alm's safe, a forbidden book containing the way to revive Supreme Evil. A bad feeling immediately welled up in his chest. It was something he had never experienced before, something that sent a shiver down his spine and made his heart beat faster. Leader? Shirley asked, concerned about his pale expression. Her own face also paled when she saw the book. That book? I have a bad feeling about that. Let's keep it compressed inside a capsule and I will put it inside the storage ring. I think we should throw this book to space too, the other side from where I send head and heart. Just to be safe, he didn't open the book. He also stored the bones in capsules without touching them, afraid that something bad might happen. In this kind of world, there might be something bad happening if he did that, like summoning a demon or a curse, or even a sudden death and possession. Everything was possible in Murim world, so being careful and just throwing it into space like trash was the best possible action. Thus, Leo sealed it inside the capsule. Then, he put it inside his storage ring, and then, they returned to their mission to evacuate the people. All people in the Murim Alliance headquarters had been put unconscious. Anya had ensured that they wouldn't wake up before Kiaki arrived at the capital and fed them the antidote to return them to normal. And so, Leo went to the evacuation site and found Jessica talking with Emperor Sheng. He was the first person who was supposed to get evacuated. But what was he doing here? I see that you take your time to get evacuated, Emperor Sheng, Leo said with a frown. The Emperor, who was standing on the ground, his clothes in disarray and a frown on his face, grinned at him. Isn't this the safest place in this city? I am afraid to die, you know. That's why I am not moving from your subordinate's side. Leo sighed. He turned to look at Jessica. She just shook her head and smiled weakly. Ah, whatever, Leo said in a defeated voice and shrugged. For now, we've taken care of the Supreme Evil's followers. There might be some hiding, but that's your responsibility. Our contract is finished here. We will be leaving once our member, Kiaki, arrives and distributes the cure for the brainwashed martial artists. Good, good. The Emperor nodded. But you're leaving too fast. Why don't you take your rest first? We can have a feast to celebrate our victory. No, thank you. There is still something I need to do, namely disposing of the strange book and Supreme Evil's bones. He also had to hide it from Chiaki. She would definitely take an interest in the bones, and that wasn't something good at all. Everything must disappear. Then I can't do anything. Emperor Sheng nodded. How much are you expecting as your reward? Or rather, can I deliver the reward later? I am afraid I don't have that much cash on hand. I am sorry, but we have to fix our country's problems. I don't know what you will do, but if we give all the reward money, our country might go bankrupt. It's okay. But I will have you to make our mercenary union official, as promised. I will also ask for the 50% reward later. Emperor Sheng nodded. That can be done immediately after the evacuation is finished. I see. Thank you. Then, and with that, Leo left. He didn't go far though, just a bit outside the city so he could make a shapeshift base for all his members. He also met up with Jack and Shui, who played a vital role in protecting the citizens. Every Outcasts member and Astrid also played some roles in defeating the enemies. The capital became safe, but the Emperor still chose to move to the new city instead of staying in it due to the miasma. While martial artists could live without any problem inside, normal people would get sick easily. It was the best choice to relocate the capital into a different place. And so, after Chiaki arrived a day later, she took the job of making a cure and curing the martial artists. After a day, the brainwashing was lifted, and the martial artists returned to their senses. They began to help with the evacuation immediately afterward. After all, it was a good thing for them since they didn't need to pay for it. A few days later, everyone was relocated, and the new capital was established. The new city, the temporary capital, was built on top of a mountain. With the superhuman strength and stamina of martial artists, they didn't feel any discomfort at all when they had to live in a high altitude. It was an uncharted area. But Emperor Sheng decided that it would be their capital from now on. As the capital was relocated, Emperor Sheng also gave a royal decree that every city in this country acknowledge the Mercenary Union as a legitimate organization. Thus, the curtain of the story closed. Leo and the others returned to Chengdu. It was a sunny day, a perfect time for a stroll. The weather was warm, and the sun's heat was perfect for a stroll in the park. However, Leo stayed in his room to rest. Slurp. HNN. RP, please don't stop fondling me. He. Whiz naughty. But I also love Leader's touch. Play with my nipple more, Leader. Of course, he wasn't alone. He was with 4 girls, with Jessica and Chiaki licking and slurping his thick rod and ball. On his side, Wendania were serving him by pressing their breasts together. He was having fun playing with their nipples while enjoying the sensation on his crotch. The sensation of fondling small and large breasts with his right and left hands were different, and he loved both of them. On the other hand, Chiaki's lips were tightly wrapped on the tip of his dick, slurping on the pre-cum, while Jessica was licking and kissing his shaft. Chiaki and Jessica didn't mind that the other was also touching their favorite thing. All of them deserved the same reward. After all, their leader did well and they could go home early, returning from their mission with success. After their return, the girls immediately pulled him into the room and they stayed inside for a few days already. The room was a mess, and their bodies were covered in various liquids. They played without rest, only taking breaks for a bath and to eat. It was the first time Leo felt so alive. His body had fully healed from his previous mission, and now he was ready to have fun. As he felt his cock twitch, Jessica rose and positioned her hole right on top of it, and then she sat down on his shaft, her eyes closed. She began to grind her hips in circles and moaned in pleasure. Oh my god. It's so good. Her eyes opened wide and she looked at the others who were watching them. This cock feels amazing inside me. Jessica moved her hips faster and harder, trying to take his cock deeper. Her face contorted with pleasure as she moaned louder, and she felt like her body was on fire. She screamed out loud as she felt the tip of his cock hit her cervix. Chiaki licked his balls, helping him to increase his pleasure. She moaned again. Jessica's pussy was very tight and hot, squeezing his cock tightly. His dick swelled inside her, and it started to pulse. She kept moving her hips, feeling her pussy tighten even more. The more he felt pleasure from Jessica's pussy, the harder he played with you and Anya's boobs. His finger rubbed their nipples and his mouth also teased them, making their faces red with lust. He moved his hands further down and inserted his fingers into their wet pussy, drenched in juices and dripping with semen. HNN leader, so naughty. Anya smiled while panting. And not there. She and were being pleasured at the same time. They held each other's hands tightly. Chiaki also didn't forget to play with her own pussy, making it wetter and hotter. She couldn't wait to feel Leo's dick inside her too. So, she prepared it while helping the others. As Leo felt the need to release, Jessica felt it too. Her body trembled, and she came. Squirts of liquid sprayed out from her pussy. I'm coming," she cried out as the liquid gushed out from her vagina. Her body shook with pleasure. She leaned forward and her breasts pressed against Leo's face. Leo also reached his peak. His body tensed as he released his semen into her womb. Jessica collapsed onto his body, panting heavily. That was amazing. If you are finished, then change with me," Chiaki said while licking the remaining cum from his cock. "It is my turn to taste leader's cock." Jessica nodded and got off the bed, her pussy still wet. Semen dripped down her thigh. "All right," she panted. "Enjoy yourselves." She then sat down and relaxed. Her body was tired, but it was a nice kind of tired. She smiled. Chiaki licked her lips and then licked the cock clean. She then straddled Leo's body and rubbed her pussy against his cock, her juices soaking it. She moaned in delight as she felt his cock enter her. She screamed in ecstasy. She then started moving her hips slowly, grinding his cock deeper into her. More. As he thrusted in her pussy, his fingers didn't stop fingering Wind Anya. Their bodies were twitching from pleasure, their moans sounded like music to his ears. And their breasts were pressed on his sides. Anya leaned closer for a kiss, sticking out her tongue for him. He met it with his own tongue. Their tongues tangled with one another, saliva mixed together. He didn't want to lose and kissed him on his mouth. His kiss became sloppier and his thrust became faster and rougher. He moved Chiaki's body like a sex doll and penetrated her deeply. His balls slapped against her buttocks, creating a loud slapping sound. "SS so rough," she gasped. Love it." Her body shook, and she climaxed. Her juices squirted out, soaking his crotch. Her body collapsed onto him. She rested on top of his body. Her breasts were pressed against his chest. Saliva dripped from the corner of her mouth. She panted. She smiled happily. It felt great to have Leo inside her. She liked being his sex partner. She loved this life. She was happy. And Leo was also happy. He smiled at them and moved to clean their bodies using his mouth, not minding the taste at all. The smell, the taste, it was something he liked. After cleaning their bodies, they rested together, not minding each other's presence. He felt tired but satisfied. His body felt heavy and his head was dizzy. But it was a pleasant feeling. He was content. "Good work, girls. You're all the best." They all giggled. The newest member nuzzled her body on him. It felt like heaven, something he never imagined before he came into this world. He didn't regret coming to this world, no matter what would happen next. This life was fun and enjoyable. It would be a shame if he wasted it. "Are you serious?" Jack's expression turned dark. He was surprised by Leo's sudden proposal. "You're telling me to take care of the space launch?" Leo, Jack, and the rest were gathered in the lobby. There was a holographic table displaying a blueprint of a space rocket. Leo was showing off the blueprints of a rocket to his members. He planned to launch a spaceship in the future, but he needed someone to take charge of it. "What? It's so simple. You don't actually pilot it, just control the launching. It is just like playing video games." "You're asking me to pilot a fucking rocket ship?" Jack shouted loudly. "That's cool." Jack was excited. He wanted to do this, even though it sounded crazy. He had been playing video games since he was a child. The idea of piloting a spaceship was awesome. Leo could count on him for the delivery of something to space. He also made a system that could be controlled from Earth, so he didn't have to worry about it too much. "You will be responsible for it." Leo nodded and tapped his shoulder. "While you're at it, feel free to test the rocket's weapon. You can use the targeting system and the auto-lock. It would be fun." "All right, boss. After he explained to Jack, Leo turned to the rest. Now then, I will make some adjustments to everyone's role. Shui isn't here because he's on a journey to fulfill Wandering Sword Saint's last wish to him and bring his remains back to his hometown. So I'd like someone else to take care of his bartending work. I know this isn't a job suited for you, but can I entrust this task to you? I will give you a bonus. Me? The young girl was flustered by her leader's request. She looked around at everyone's face, and she saw that they were smiling at her and encouraging her to do this. I can't handle a bar. You're the best for this role. Anya smiled and said, your cuteness and your beauty will be a great help. I can do that, right? She looked at Anya and Chiaki and nodded. You can. Besides, haven't you handled alcohol before in the tea house? He nodded again. Why yeah, I will help you too. Astrid chirped in. She and had grown closer after the capital mission, and they shared the same room now. It was a nice arrangement and he was no longer afraid of her seniors. I see, I'll do it then. Thank you, leader, for the trust. Good. Then I will have you to work with Astrid, okay? And I will have Jessica to take care of the management, accounting, and paperwork just like usual. Can you help her, Chiaki? She's a bit busy. Leave it to me. Chiaki nodded. With no other jobs or enemies that could threaten them right now, Leo decided to focus on Mercenary Union's business. He wanted to have one base in each city. At first, it didn't seem possible. However, 4 Wind merchants sponsored their expansion. They would provide all kinds of services and materials to support the Mercenary Union. It was due to the deal he took when Leo presented the stove blueprint to him. It was a huge amount of money, and the 4 Wind merchant paid it in one go. It was a sign that they trusted him and they also gained profit by selling the stove. With the capital and solid sponsor behind his back, expanding Mercenary Union's branch in each city became possible. Alright. I will meet with Tang Jiaofu and Nabi now. Can you prepare a good surprise for our dear collaborator for tonight, Chiaki? Yes, leader. Chiaki nodded. I have already made the plan and I have set up everything for our guests. I just need to give them a signal, and it's ready to go. Alright, then. Good job. Leo patted Chiaki's head and then left the base, leaving her and the other girls alone. He had to meet Nabi and Tang Jiaofu in the Butterfly Pavilion and talk about the expansion. As collaborators, Nabi and Tang Jiaofu would be the first to hear about the expansion. Of course, it was just the basic plan, but he hoped to get some feedback and suggestions from them. Arriving at the pavilion, he was greeted by many girls dressed scantily. They wore what he would call dancer outfits. The pavilion was full of them. He could see them everywhere. A combination of frills and revealing clothes was the most common sight. The girls' bare legs seen through a half-transparent skirt and cleavage were exposed for everyone to see. And the veil covering half of their face roused up the desire to take off their clothes and have fun. In fact, this outfit was proposed by Jessica to boost the sale. They would change every week, and give special performances for customers who ordered the most expensive course. The Butterfly Pavilion's selling point wasn't the food or service. Rather, they focused on entertainment, making their customers come here for a show and to enjoy a beautiful sight. Coincidentally, today was a dance day. As such, Nabi also greeted him in a dancer's outfit which accentuated her body movement and curves. Welcome to our Butterfly Pavilion, Leo. Her voice was soft and sweet, and her eyes were full of lust. Her breasts were covered by a cloth tied around them and a transparent skirt revealed her slender legs. The veil covered her face and she wore a golden circlet with a butterfly decoration on top of it. Her face was decorated with golden powders and eyeliners, making her face look so sexy. No one would be able to handle her allure. Fortunately, they were in a private room where there were only 2 of them. Leo looked around and didn't see Tang Jiaofu anywhere. Where is Tang Patriarch? Isn't he also supposed to be here? He asked. Ah, that. Nabi smiled and walked closer. Her breasts were almost pressing against him. I might or might not confuse the schedule while telling him. I forgot to say that it's 7 in the morning, not in the evening. A seducing smile on her lips. So, how is my outfit, leader of the Mercenary Union? Do you like it? She winked and traced her fingers across her breasts, pushing them upwards and revealing a bit of her nipple. Then she pushed her hands downwards and lifted up the skirt, showing a glimpse of her thighs. Her hands then went down to touch the inside of her legs. "What are you planning?" Leo smiled and grabbed her hands, stopping it. He. Nabi laughed and winked again. "I am seducing someone I fell in love with." "What's so strange about it?" Her words sent shivers down Leo's spine. Nabi was a very attractive woman. Even if she didn't say that she fell in love with him, her appearance alone was already enough to seduce any man. But there was also this danger involving her. If he was careless, she would stab him with a dagger or something similar, making her an enemy. That would be troublesome, and he wanted to avoid that at all costs. House Sect was an old and big sect, and this woman tried to make him their leader. Of course, he considered it for a while. Taking the leadership meant he could expand the mercenary union's power faster. But at the same time, he would also be responsible for House Sect's problem. He wasn't sure about it, but at least, he wouldn't let himself be trapped in a relationship with her. If what she said contained a truth about her feelings toward him, then he would respond accordingly. "Hey, Nabi," he said to her, making her smile. "Ah, finally calling me by my name, I see," Nabi said while looking up at him. "Do you have anything you want to ask me, Leo?" She was teasing him, and he was fully aware of that. However, it didn't stop him from asking his question. "Why do you love me?" he asked her. His voice sounded serious. It was an honest and sincere question. Nabi was surprised. She wasn't expecting that kind of question, but she quickly regained her composure. Her smile changed from a mischievous one to a sad one. "Will you hear my story?" Nabi asked him. She moved closer. Her hands were still held in his hands, preventing her from doing anything. Her lips were almost touching his ear. Her warm breath brushed over it. "Let's move to the bed so I can feel calm. It's a bit hard telling a story in this place." Leo wanted to say something but stopped when he felt her trembling hand. Someone who was mischievous, sexy, and mature like her could feel nervous too was something he found unexpected. He nodded. They sat on the bed in the room and Nabi told him her story. "First of all, do you know how House Sect's leader was chosen?" She started, looking at him. "From your reaction, I guess you don't know about it." "Then I'll explain a bit about House Sect." Leo listened to her silently. He knew that House Sect was a big sect in Murim world and they had a special rule for choosing their leader, but that was it. That was all he knew. Nabi's gaze fell to her hand. The leader of House Sect was always chosen by a special ceremony. The candidates were the sons and daughters of the previous sect leader. However, the previous sect leader had no children. Thus he adopted 6 of us from different places. I was one of the 6. And from these 6 people, 1 would become a leader. The other 5 would be the servants of that leader. They had no right to oppose the leader. They must serve the leader obediently. A truly bizarre rule that made him feel strange. Was the sect leader that great of a figure? Why did they need such strict rules? I don't know why, but there are no women in the history of House Sect's leadership. Nabi chuckled. "So I thought I was out of the running. But that didn't mean I was free from the ceremony. I am still a potential servant, after all." She turned to the side and took the glass of wine on the table, sipping it slowly. "Being a servant means my freedom will be taken from me. I don't want that, and I am sure the rest don't want it either." Putting the glass on the table, Nabi leaned her head against Leo's shoulder and continued. Her voice sounded pretty weak and pitiful. "The first candidate is dead. His heart was taken out. It is the rule of House Sect, after all, so I didn't really feel bad. I am just a little scared." Nabi took a deep breath, calming herself down from the wave of unpleasant memories. "However, there was this strange man. He's strong and mysterious, saving my life and House Sect's disciples' life. He is the most handsome and manly person in the world, someone who saved us from our misery." Her hand trembled as she spoke, and tears began to fall from her eyes. "You're a bad person, you know," she sobbed, and her body trembled. "Saving me and making me feel this kind of feelings, but you have no plan to reciprocate my feelings. That is why you're a bad man." "Me? I met you after you became the sect leader, didn't I?" Leo asked in confusion. The timeline didn't add up. "You don't know the details of how House Sect chooses its leader, do you? We have to be the first to take down the enemy that threatens House Sect. If you're the first one, then you'll become the leader and the other will be your servant. The remaining 5 people are all leaders when they come of age until the supreme leader is chosen. She smiled bitterly and said, that's how House Sect chooses their leader. They have a unique way of doing it, and it works very well for us. Securing that epigraph solidified my position and I was chosen as the supreme leader. I see. Nabi's hand was shaking, her face was full of fear. Leo held it tighter and caressed it. But I realized that I am not good enough. Supreme Evil's followers incident is a wake-up call, Nabi said with a sad expression. Her eyes were full of sadness. If I have more power, I can avoid many deaths. My fellow brothers and sisters would survive the ritual and not be reduced to mere tools. Not even House Sect was spared from the sacrifice that had to be made to summon Heart. If Leo and the others didn't intervene, perhaps the ritual would succeed. I am weak. That is why, when I heard about the Mercenary Union's expansion and their leaders' willingness to expand, I had an idea. She grinned and looked at him. I want you to take the leadership. In exchange, I will do anything. You can do anything to me. My body and my feelings are all yours. Just say it. I'll follow your order. I will become your perfect puppet to survive in this harsh world. That's what I think. Leo felt a chill run down his spine. Nabi was too desperate to secure power. Her eyes showed determination and her expression showed that she wasn't joking around. He didn't expect this kind of thing to happen. She had no other choice. After all, she was forced into this position, and now she had no way out. The feeling of powerlessness was unbearable, especially for her. As such, her desperation led to this. Is that necessary? After all, they were allies. Leo wasn't one who threw away allies without any reasons, and Nabi's feeling was real, that much he knew. Leo, I need your strength, she said with a determined look on her face. Her hands were clenched tightly. Please marry me and become the leader of House Sect. I don't have anything except this body and mind, Nabi said as she put her hands on Leo's chest. She closed her eyes and sighed, but I'll do anything for you. I'll become a loyal wife. Just give me the order and I'll follow. She was desperate and she had no choice. Her life depended on it, so she was serious. However, the timing of it was just too off. They hadn't known each other for a long time and Leo had no desire for more responsibility. He had his hands full with the Mercenary Union already. Nabi's expression turned sad. Even without words, she knew she was rejected, but it was something she expected. I see. Sorry. No, it's fine. You're a good person and I don't want to make you feel guilty. I'm glad you didn't accept, to be honest. Now, let's go back to our original schedule. Shall we? She rose from the bed and stretched her arms, but, before that, she suddenly leapt toward him and pressed her lips on his. After a while, they parted and she said, at least give me a consolation prize. I don't expect anything else but at least give me this. I want to know how it felt to be embraced by my hero. Then she pushed Leo down onto the bed, her hand reaching to unzip his pants. He didn't resist and enjoyed what happened. While he refused her proposal, it didn't mean he wasn't interested in her. She unzipped the fly, freeing his hard member. Upon seeing it, her eyes widened and her jaw dropped. What the hell? Her hands trembled as she held it, stroking it slowly. It's so big. Can it fit? Can take it in. So it shouldn't be a problem, right? Leo asked, raising his eyebrows. His hands then went to caress her head. He took her veil and threw it aside. Let me take care of the preparation. Leo's hands then roamed around Nabi's body, touching every inch of her skin, making her moan and groan. Her nipples stood up, her crotch became wetter. Her breathing became heavier. Her body shivered. How can you be so good? I'm just skilled with my hands, Leo said. While smiling, he continued to stroke and caress her body, touching the places she liked most. Now, it should be ready. He pulled the cloth covering her pussy and threw it aside, exposing her glistening hole. Her eyes were half-lidded and her body trembled slightly. He positioned himself between her legs, his cock was pointing at the hole. When he teased her lower hole, her body jerked. It was the most sensitive part. You're a bad man. Teasing a girl like that, she said, while biting her lower lips. My body is very sensitive. If you're not careful, you'll end up hurting me. Be gentle. Her words didn't have any effect, however. Don't worry, I know how to do this. You don't need to tell me. Leo smiled and began to move. His cock slid inside her slowly. Her insides squeezed him tightly, making him feel pleasure. He could feel his cock being squeezed and he couldn't hold his voice. The slippery and hot feeling of the insides was so comfortable and pleasant. His hips started to thrust slowly, pushing deeper inside. Ugh, it's so big, so big. Nabi moaned and arched her back. She could feel her body being stretched by the large cock inside of her. Antilda, as his hips started to thrust harder and faster, Nabi's body shuddered. Her breasts bounced up and down. The clothes covering her chest loosened and fell off, revealing her beautiful breasts. Your cock? It's so good, she said between moans. Her pussy contracted around the cock. I can feel it. So deep. The cock inside her was too big and she was afraid that it would hurt her, but strangely, the sensation wasn't painful. In fact, it was the opposite. She felt nothing but pure ecstasy. It felt amazing. Yes, HNNG. Her body rocked with each thrust. Her bouncy ass jiggled with every move. She wrapped her legs around his hips. Leo leaned forward and planted his hands beside her head, thrusting harder. Fuck. It's too big. It's tearing me apart. But it's so good. HNN. The cock penetrated deeper inside her. Nabi felt the cock hitting the deepest part of her. She could feel the tip hitting her cervix, making her feel more pleasure. Her body shook violently. An orgasm washed over her. Her body tensed and her pussy tightened around the cock. HNN. Yes. I'm coming. I'm coming. Leo grinned and stopped moving. He pulled his cock before she climaxed, leaving her unsatisfied and disappointed. Wait. What are you doing? He pushed her down on the bed. His eyes stared at her with a predator's look. Then he moved closer and grabbed her hips. Her blue hair fell down and her breasts were exposed to his view. He stared at them hungrily. His gaze traveled up to meet her eyes. Her expression showed a mix of embarrassment and desire. I want to taste you first, he said and spread her legs wider. His mouth went down to her pussy. She felt her face turning red and she tried to push him away. But her strength wasn't enough to stop him. She felt his tongue entering her and licked her wet hole. It felt weird and yet very pleasant. No. Stop it. Leo's hands went to caress and squeeze her ass. He spread them apart, revealing her puckering anus. Upon seeing them he grinned. He had a devilish idea and went with the flow. Moving closer, he positioned his hard cock, covered in juices, in front of her puckering hole. He was ready to take her second hole, the anal virginity of the leader of a big sect. Wait. Not the Nabi screamed in fear, but it was already too late. As his cock penetrated deep inside, she arched her body and screamed loudly. Juices squirted out of her pussy. Her hands gripped the sheets tightly, and she closed her eyes. Tears fell from her eyes. The feeling of his cock penetrating her asshole was something she had never experienced before, but the sensation was amazing. NGHH. She screamed. It's so big. It's too much. He pushed deeper. His cock entered deeper inside, stretching her anal passage and pushing past the tight ring of muscle. Then he stopped. Now then, are you satisfied, or do you still want more? He asked while staring at her. If you want more, beg. Nabi looked at him. Her expression showed the mix of shame, anger, and lust. She didn't know what to do. Please. She whispered. What did you say? Please. I need more. He chuckled. What do you want? Please. I need more. Fuck me. Fuck my ass. He chuckled once more. Leaning closer, he pressed his lips against hers, kissing her passionately. His hands roamed around her body, caressing her soft skin, feeling every part of her body. Her hands also went to grab his, stopping his movement. She didn't know why he did this, but it made her happy nonetheless. This kind of affection was something she wanted for a long time, after all. You're really sexy, Nabi. Her eyes widened and her face reddened. She felt her chest tightened. Her heart beat faster. Getting a compliment from someone else was normal for her. However, it felt different this time. She didn't know why. Perhaps because the words were said sincerely. Perhaps because he was someone she liked. Or maybe it was because of her own feelings. She didn't know. Why do you say that? I'm not lying, right? Let's go to the main dish. Leo said, it's going to hurt a bit at the start. Relax, okay? I promise it'll feel better in no time. He grabbed her waist tightly and began to move his hips slowly, thrusting deeper into her ass. Her hole was tight and it felt good around his cock. It squeezed him hard and it made him feel great pleasure. NGHH. It's too big. Too big. Ugh. The feeling of being filled by a big cock made her mind blank. She could only focus on the sensation. The thick, long, and hard cock was stretching her insides, making her feel full. It feels amazing, he said, looking down at the girl he was penetrating. You're amazing. No. He continued to move, pushing deeper inside her. Nabi's body rocked back and forth. Her breasts bounced up and down. Her beautiful face contorted into expressions of pleasure and pain. Your pussy and your asshole are amazing. His words caused her face to redden even more. She covered her face, trying to hide the embarrassment. NGHHH. Don't say that. He ignored her plea. He thrust faster, harder, and deeper into her. Each dirty word made her mind dizzy. She had always prided herself for her intelligence and knowledge, but this was a new kind of feeling, and it was too much for her to handle. She felt her insides being filled up, the tip of his cock hitting her womb. As a person who never had sex, she couldn't handle it at all. She came multiple times already. I can't take it anymore. I can't. Leo grinned. He moved faster and faster. He thrust deeper inside her. The feeling of being filled by his cock was something that she couldn't resist. Her pussy contracted around his shaft. Her juices flowed out of her like a waterfall. You seduced me, yet you're the one who couldn't handle it. Leo chuckled. That's really cute, Nabi. No. She couldn't say anything anymore. Her mind went blank. Her body shook uncontrollably. Cock. Your cock is so good. She was completely at his mercy. Juices were flowing from her pussy non-stop. She was squirting all the time now. Her body trembled and spasmed. She screamed loudly, arching her body upwards. Leo grinned. I'm coming. She felt her whole body tensing up. She gripped the sheet tightly. She was close, so close. Take this. With a final scream of ecstasy, she reached her limit. Reaching a climax, she arched her body upwards, and her juices squirted out from her pussy like a fountain. Her ass tightened around the cock that was still deep inside her, milking it for every drop of cum it could get. Ropes of cum shot from his cock and filled her anal passage, making her stomach bulged. Her ass twitched and her legs shivered. She felt full, her abdomen expanded, and the feeling was incredible. He pulled out his cock and let it rest outside her ass. He kept spraying his cum all over her body and her beautiful face. The smell of his seed filled the room. Nabi felt his warm fluid covering her face, chest, belly, and pussy. She could smell his strong musky scent. His cum covered her entire body. It was a sight to behold. Amazing, Leo said with a satisfied expression. Nabi's face was flushed and she was panting heavily. Her slutty face and sexy appearance made him hard once again, despite just ejaculating. Her breasts rose and fell as she breathed. Why you? I can't believe it. I came from anal, she murmured. He chuckled. I told you, just relax, and you'll enjoy it. He grabbed her hand and brought her closer to him. Come on, clean this up, he ordered, pointing to his dick. Use your mouth. Nabi nodded weakly. She crawled toward his dick and opened her mouth. Her tongue licked his member and sucked on it. MMMPH. She moaned, tasting his cock and his semen. She bobbed her head back and forth. Her mouth was filled with his thick shaft and his cum. Her tongue licked it up and down, cleaning every nook and cranny of his cock. Leo let out a satisfied sigh. That's good. Keep going. She did as he ordered and kept sucking. Her mouth was full of his cum, and she swallowed every last bit. She continued to suck on his cock until it was completely clean. Good job. She looked at him, still on her knees. She had just cleaned his dick with her mouth and now she was looking at him with those eyes full of desire. He smiled at her. Nabi gasped softly as he caressed her face. You did great. Really? She asked, smiling shyly. Her face turned red, and her body felt hot. He nodded and pulled her closer. I can't be your husband or house sect's leader. However, I can be your ally. helping you in times of need. Sweet words that could melt the heart. Leo was the first man to treat her gently like this. He treated her like a woman and not a mere political tool to gain power. Thank you. Her body trembled and tears welled up in her eyes. She felt happy. I'll always be here for you too, Leo. She leaned her head against his chest. She felt his warmth. It was nice. Her heartbeat quickened. I love you, she whispered. Her hands touched his back, hugging him. He hugged her back, caressing her hair. Her head rested on his chest. They stayed in each other's arms for a while. Getting Nabi's cooperation was important for a stable future. He felt like a scum using her feelings, but she was also a very attractive woman. So he didn't mind being with her. In the end, it was beneficial to both of them. As a bonus, it also prevented the future where he would clash against her and the rest of House Ect. After finishing the talk in the bath, they got dressed properly and discussed an important thing regarding the Mercenary Union's expansion. At night, Tang Jiaofu arrived and joined them. They had dinner and talked about business. The talk ended in an amicable atmosphere with a lot of profit to gain. The expansion went as planned. The Four Wind Merchants cooperation made the expansion smooth there. It also made the Mercenary Union more popular than ever. In the end, they were able to have a branch in every city, fulfilling their original goal. While they were conversating, Leo noticed Tang Jiaofu looked more weary than usual. You looked tired. Are you okay? I'm fine. It's just. Tang Jiaofu looked away, embarrassed. I was doing my best to gather my troops, but the war ended before we could even do anything. I felt useless and it was shameful. The man was old but his body looked young. He had white hair and a mustache and wore a purple robe. His weary eyes and wrinkles showed he wasn't a simple character. Are you talking about the war between Supreme Evil and the rest? If that is the case, it's fine. Nabi smiled, trying to console the old man. I don't think Leo wants you to gather the troops for that. It's for something else. Leo nodded, agreeing with her. Tang Jiaofu's role was important, after all. Yes, it's not that kind of war. He put his teacup on the table, looking at the ceiling. There will be another war after this, not too dangerous. I hope the Tang clan can help me when the time comes. Of course, I'll do anything to help. But Tang Jiaofu nodded his head vigorously, then he asked, what kind of war do you mean? A silence reigned for a while before Nabi spoke up. Against the barbarian, she said calmly and seriously. I believe it's going to happen sooner rather than later. In the end, the discussion was finished early because Tang Jiaofu left first. Leo didn't manage to give the reward he prepared for the Tang clan patriarch, but that could wait until later. His busy day didn't end there. Leo still had another promise with someone. Moving further from the red light district, he arrived at a normal house. The wooden door opened and a girl in her early 20s welcomed him. She wore casual clothes and her hair was tied up neatly. Welcome to our tavern. Are you here alone? She said cheerfully. Leo looked around and replied, I have an appointment with someone. My name is Leo. Her smile changed, as if realizing the situation. So it is you. This way, please. Your companion is already here. He followed her. She brought him to the inner part of the tavern, where there was a table filled with food. Because this was a slightly high-end tavern, the atmosphere was nice and cozy. It was suitable for relaxation. There weren't a lot of people around and there were a few private rooms. The waiter led Leo to a table where a man was waiting. The man was wearing a black robe, but the air around him couldn't hide the wealth and authority that he possessed. Upon seeing him, the man stood up. Long time no see. Please have a seat. He smiled. Leo returned the gesture and sat down. He ordered some beers for himself. Indeed, it is Master Ming. How's the development of the stove and other appliances? He asked. If it goes as expected, the profit should be really good. Yes, of course. He laughed. Everything is fine, and we are doing very well thanks to the new product. The prototype has been finished and already being tested by our company. We will begin mass production soon enough. I'm glad to hear that. Leo smiled. He was happy hearing his project's development was doing well. I will be looking forward to seeing the final product. The man in front of him was none other than Four Wind Merchants President, the first and biggest sponsor of Mercenary Union, a big merchant organization that spanned throughout the whole empire and its surrounding areas. Ming Yukan helped him a lot at creating the second identity as the merchant and worked in the capital. Usually, the president always stayed in the capital, but Leo knew he came to the city because now the city had been relocated. There was also another matter that was more important than a simple stove appliance. The main reason Ming Yukan came here. Leo looked at him and said, "Do you want to relocate your main headquarters in Chengdu?" Or he stopped talking and stared at him. The president of the Four-Wind Merchant didn't look surprised or angry at all. Instead, he smiled and answered his question without hesitation. "I plan to create the headquarters in Qin City, the center of the trade. Chengdu will be the sub-branch of my business. It will act as a distribution hub and also a production center. But it is not my main concern right now. I have to ask you about the matter that I mentioned in my letter, about oil mining." "Yes." Ming Yukan nodded. He leaned forward and spoke. "Yes. We don't really have an idea how to start the operation in that place. Not until we found a strange substance coming out of the soil. And even so, I don't know how to refine it to become pure oil that can burn longer and cleaner. The sample you sent was already good enough, but it is not something we could easily get our hand on." "I see." Leo understood where the problem was. The sample that he gave Ming Yukan was refined in a warehouse using the cutting-edge technology and Nanite's help. It wasn't something that could be made by a normal method. It would need a special facility to make it. However, that didn't mean he would give up. Leo had a few tricks to solve this problem. "Tell me about the substance you find." "All right. It is crude oil and we are currently trying to extract it from the earth. They burn so fast that we have trouble controlling it." "That's crude oil, I know." He nodded and looked at him. "Do you have any idea to solve the problem?" Ming Yukan asked. "We have to refine it first with 4 steps: heating, separation, conversion, and treatment. We will change the crude oil into petroleum that could burn more stable. This way, we can use the oil in the stove and a lamp." In this world, oil wasn't something that was treated well. The people only used the crude oil for everything without refining it first. As a result, it created bad smells, toxic smoke, and burned fast. "First of all, we need to build a facility in order to refine the oil. I have prepared the design and I will help to build the facility." He gave another blueprint to Ming Yukan. "You can build it near the new capital. Surely, you will need a lot of workers for this." The design was simple enough. The refinery could produce the refined petroleum using a steam of pressure and heat to break down hydrocarbons into lighter and heavier components, such as petrol, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and fuel oils. But all they had to make was kerosene. Even normal people could handle it after some instructions. Ming Yukan didn't seem to have a problem with this. He had done a similar project in the past, after all. Rather, he looked very surprised. "It's a lot of work." "Are you sure about this?" he asked while reading the blueprints. "And with this, the problem that plagued the new capital will be gone. People will have work and get paid." Surprised, Ming Yukan looked at Leo, who nodded his head and smiled. The man smiled back. "I will build it, and we will also hire people to work in our royal mine. Although it will be a dangerous job, it will be fine, don't worry." Leo assured him, "With the new technology, the productivity and the safety of your workers will increase tenfold. I will provide the safety equipment for the new hire as well." "I understand." Ming Yukan was convinced. "But what will we do with all that oil?" "It's still not something common." "Then let's make it a common thing. We will revolutionize the world." "Let's see. Should we start creating a train to move from one city to another?" "We will require coal for that, so it's not a viable option for oil." We can also create a kerosene lamp. It's cheaper and better than candles, and it can light the night streets, reducing the crime rate." Ming Yukan could see what kind of future his collaborator was thinking of, and he couldn't help but get excited. He didn't know what train was, but he had seen the vehicle that the hallowed insect mercenary used. If this train was similar to the wagon that could run without a horse, then the possibilities were endless. "I'll leave it to you," Ming Yukan said, full of expectations. "You can decide how to use all that oil. We will be the ones who realize this project." Leo smiled and nodded his head. "Now that's settled, shall we have our dinner?" "I'm pretty hungry right now." Leo laughed and called a waiter. He then proceeded to order a few dishes and drinks outside beer. He didn't like alcohol. The dinner continued in a merry atmosphere and it didn't end until late at night. As the sun shone upon the land, people woke up and began their activities. Leo went to the Mercenary Union base with today. He planned to teach her how to finish requests alone. He had promised her in the past and he planned to fulfill that promise today. Due to the Emperor's declaration, many people made a request to the Mercenary Union now. There were more requests than what could be completed in a day. This resulted in many requests being put on hold until the next day, and then they were finished one by one. The number of people who wanted protection was increasing, especially merchants and travelers. As a result, the number of martial artists affiliated as mercenaries was also increasing. This also increased the revenue for the organization as a whole. People were happy, wandering martial artists were happy, and public safety improved as the number of martial artists became higher. This made it safer for ordinary people to walk around outside their house. Alright, what do you want to do? The request is separated into different types, depending on your ability. But, if you're confident in your abilities, you can choose whatever request you want, Leo explained as they walked toward the board, full of requests. Many people gathered in the base to read and choose a request. There was no rank or anything in the Mercenary Union. However, the receptionist from House Ect would determine whether the taker had the ability to complete it or not. If they didn't, then the request couldn't be taken. Everything was built on a reputation. No one would hire them if the Mercenary Union was bad, and no one would take their requests either. Looked like a child. Her height didn't even reach 150 centimeters tall. Her chi wasn't prominent at all, bordering 3 stars from the training she did with Leo and Kiaki. She looked cute and innocent. As such, no one really expected much from her. However, she had a badge symboling that she belonged to the hallowed insect group. With that alone, her ability was beyond doubt. So she could choose any request she liked. Can I choose one for myself? She asked. Leo smiled. Sure. Then, this one. She took one paper and showed it to Leo. Leo nodded his head after reading the content. A group of thugs attacked the local farmers in the morning. The request is to find the thugs and eliminate them before they do anything else. This request is perfect for beginners, I guess. Was Anya's apprentice. Her specialty was espionage, not frontal battle. So this was perfect for her. I'll take this request, she said confidently. Chengdu's outskirts were crowded with farmers, peddlers, and many other people. It was a perfect place for criminals to prey on the weak. They were usually active when most of the people had gone home, and the streets were quiet, but that didn't mean they weren't present in the morning. In fact, most robbers and muggers came at that time, blending with normal villagers and travelers, waiting for their chance to strike. They were hard to catch and identify. As for the thugs who was going to hunt, they had been active for weeks, preying on farmers who were going to sell their products to the city. Their main targets were farmers who lived far from the city. They would steal everything and leave their victims alive, so they would keep trying and eventually return to be a new prey. When Leo went out to search for them, disguised as 2 travelers from a faraway place, the former didn't stand out because she was the local resident, while the latter had to use the optical illusion to make him look like his dad. Should I call you daddy or father? She asked him. She didn't know what to do. Her biological father died a long time ago. Just call me like usual. Leo smiled. Don't you think daddy is too sensual considering our relationship? His cheeks blushed a little. I guess. It feels weird. Considering they had had sex a few times already, being called daddy was too embarrassing. Not even Leo himself would allow her to call him that way, at least not in public. Their disguises as father and daughter made their target easier to spot. Since they weren't dressed as a farmer but a walking merchant, they would most likely attack them. After they left the city gate and walked around the road for 1 hour, they spotted their target. The road was pretty isolated from the others as it was connected to a small city in the east. It was the perfect location for criminals. Leo whispered. Why yes, I can feel their presence tailing us. She nodded her head. She could sense the enemy's chi from afar. There are 2 in the front, and another 2 behind. Can you do this? Oh, of course, but are we really going to kill them? She asked. As Anya's apprentice, she had been taught how to kill but had never killed someone before. She felt nervous at the idea. Leo smiled and patted her. Don't worry, just do your best and don't force yourself. If you can't right now, It's fine. There is time to train yourself and I will support you. You can choose your own way to deal with your enemies. If you want, I can help." She nodded and clenched her fist. She was determined. No. Please let me do this alone. I want to be useful too. She didn't want to be a useless girl. She wanted to be helpful. She wanted to do something that would benefit everyone. She wanted to do something for herself. That's why she chose to become an apprentice of the assassin. Although the real job was espionage and escape, she had to have an experience of killing someone because it would be a part of her job later. Then let's get started. She took a deep breath. Then she took out a small crossbow from her bag. She then turned back and aimed it towards one of the men appearing from the bush. They probably realized that Leo and stopped due to their presence and decided to come out to rob them, not realizing they were their prey instead. "What's a cute little girl doing out here with your daddy? Come here. Let me help you with your heavy bags. He. We can have fun after that." "Of course, Daddy isn't invited." "Lower your bow, little girl." Another thug appeared from a different direction. "Uncle don't want to hurt you." The men surrounded them, and he pointed her small crossbow at the man in front of her. She didn't respond, nor did she lower her crossbow. The men looked at each other, thinking they were facing an easy prey. But the man behind her, the man they assumed was her father, suddenly said, "Be careful." Wiz a bit shy. She's also not very talkative. "Please don't get closer or you will pay for the price." Leo spoke with a calm and gentle tone, which made the thugs laugh. "Ha ha ha ha, you're a really brave old man." They laughed and mocked him, then they all looked at him with evil expressions. "Let's kill him together and share everything between ourselves." "Of course, the one catching the girl gets to play with her." The thugs laughed again, this time louder. They then turned their attention toward you and the man next to her. However, as they took a step forward, pulled the trigger, shooting the bolt from the crossbow directly at one of them. It pierced the target's head and exploded into his brain. He fell backward, dead instantly. His blood splattered on the ground and stained his clothes. Her hand trembled, but she kept moving. She took out a dagger from her back and rushed toward the nearby thug. "Shit, she's a martial artist. Kill them." The thug swung his sword at her. She dodged the strike by jumping to the side and stabbed her dagger in his throat. He fell on the ground and choked on his own blood. Nervousness disappeared from her eyes, replaced with coldness. "Two down," she mumbled. "Just two more." The thugs panicked seeing two of their comrades killed by you. They were so afraid, they didn't notice Leo, the man they had to watch out. With her small frame, she dashed toward one of the thugs. It wasn't as easy as the one before. Her dagger was blocked by his weapon. "Don't underestimate us, little girl." "Die." Another thug jumped from the side and swung his saber down. His face twisted into a creepy smile. The situation looked dire, but she didn't panic. In fact, her eyes gleamed in the cold and she dashed forward. She evaded the first thug's attack and kicked his feet. He grunted and bent his knees. As the result, the saber coming from the second thug hit his head, splitting his skull. What? Why you bitch? She jumped back to avoid the counterattack. The last remaining thug's face paled. He couldn't believe his comrades had been killed so quickly. He also didn't understand why he killed one of them in a confusion. Shouting, he began to attack without thinking, just trying to land a single strike. But no matter how many times he tried to cut or stab her, his sword was easily avoided. He was a one-star artist, but she trained her martial art higher than his. And her training method was better. In a battle like this, was better, not him. Her only problem was her lack of confidence and experience. The battle continued until she managed to strike him with her dagger. Her dagger cut deeply, slicing his arm cleanly. Blood gushed out from his severed hand, followed by a loud scream. The last thug fell down on his knees and tried to stop his bleeding wound, but it didn't work. His eyes widened as he watched his hand drop onto the ground. "Shit, my hand." "Ugh!" the man cried and shouted, his eyes bloodshot as he looked around desperately. "Fuck you, bitch." Fuck fu. A flash of light came and sliced his head. Blood sprayed from the neck of his beheaded body. His body swayed a little bit and then slumped down on the ground. He stood still in her position, her body was trembling. Her breath became faster and shorter. She felt nauseated, She wanted to throw up. It was the first time for her to kill people. Although the feeling of taking a life wasn't something she was proud of, her heart was filled with excitement. She felt her body become hot, reminding her of her first time doing. Ah, I like this feeling. More a broken bar, more a broken bar. Her thought was interrupted by a voice. It's okay. Leo approached and hugged her from behind, ignoring the blood that had been splattered on her. I know, the first kill isn't a pleasant experience. His words were calming and he stroked her head gently. I'm fine. It was my choice, and I did it. Still, you can rely on me. I am your leader, you know. I know. I'll do it. Thank you. He turned and buried her head on his chest, feeling his warm embrace. They stayed like that for a few minutes. We should get back and report to the receptionist, Leo said. You did great today. Congratulations on finishing your first request as a mercenary. Thank you. Let's go back. Leo and he walked away together. The bodies were left at a rot. When the duo came back to the Mercenary Union building, they immediately reported to the receptionist. The receptionist, a girl in her late 20s, looked at the paper. She then read through the contents and confirmed their request. Congratulations, miss, for finishing the request. The reward is 2 silver coins. The receptionist smiled and gave 2 silvers to the girl's face was still pale from her first time killing someone. She took it and pocketed it, smiling awkwardly. Yay! She clapped her hands, pretending that nothing was wrong. I finished my first request. Thank you, receptionist. Thank you for helping me. The receptionist smiled again. Having been surrounded by men with dangerous auras all the time, this cute and young girl's presence was refreshing. Even her cold expression and pale face didn't dampen her beauty. You're welcome. I'm glad you can finish the quest safely. I'm looking forward to seeing you complete more quests. He nodded her head. Then she turned to Leo. Where are we going now? Home? She asked him. Yes. Let's go home and take a bath, he said. He then whispered to her. Don't worry. The feeling of taking a life is normal, and you'll get used to it eventually. Leader, I don't feel well. Her face was flushed and she was sweating profusely. Her breathing was erratic. It seemed she was going through the same symptoms as a fever or something. Leo looked at her and scanned her with his eyes. He saw that she had some blood splatter on her body. He understood what was going on. It was the effect of being too excited. Let's quickly return, take a bath, and rest. I will help you get better. He smiled. She nodded and they went home. When they arrived, he explained to the members in the lobby that he had to take care of you and headed to the bath, with her still breathing roughly and her face reddened. They took their bath in his bathroom together. Inside, felt strangely hot and sought Leo's touch. Leader, I need something. Her face blushed. She wanted him. Her body yearned for him. She wanted to be held and loved by the man she loved. She was in heat. See, can you touch me down here? Turning around, she spread her lower lips, already wet with fluids. The water from shower dripped from her pussy to the floor. Her breathing grew heavy, and she felt her chest heave. Is this normal? I feel that I want to be naughty with you. You've become bold, eh? He touched her cheek gently and kissed her lips softly, his tongue exploring inside of her mouth. Her eyes widened, feeling his tongue probing around hers. A soft moan escaped from her lips and her hands grasped his arms tightly, pulling him closer. As the kiss became deeper, their tongues entangled together and she could taste him more intensely. His hand squeezed her round butt, massaging it. She felt pleasure course through her entire being. He pulled his mouth away from hers. Both their breathing were hot. Let me help you, he whispered, his hand moving down from her buttocks towards her vagina. Her small entrance was wet and leaking her fluid, waiting to be touched by him. He gently pushed one finger inside. She moaned and closed her eyes tightly. Leader, she moaned. Her pussy squeezed the finger that was thrusting in and out. More, please. He smiled. His finger was pumping in and out of her rapidly, stimulating the inside of her walls. Her body was trembling from the sensation of being finger-fucked. She moaned louder. Ah! Her legs buckled. She grabbed his shoulder to stay up. Feeling good? He whispered in her ear. She nodded. Then I will give you more. He inserted 2 more fingers. Oh, ooh, ooh. Feeling the sudden intrusion, she cried out. She buckled and fell, but he caught her before she hit the floor. She felt her body shiver and shake. Leader, I'm coming. She came, her fluids squirting everywhere. Her pussy was clenching the fingers and he didn't pull them out. Her face turned red and she looked away. She felt embarrassed that she had orgasmed so quickly. However, Leo didn't stop. Instead, he began moving his hand again. His pace was slow but he was sure to hit the spot. Her breathing got rougher and her moans became louder. Namori, I will be crazy tilde. Anne, come for me. Let me see your beautiful face when you climax. She moaned loudly as she felt the fingers thrust deep into her again and again. Her body tensed and her face turned redder than before. Her insides were clenching and her hips jerked upwards as she orgasmed. She slumped forward and fell onto the tiled floor, exhausted. That's a nice orgasm. He pulled his hand, drenched in her pussy juices, and moved it closer to her face. Lick it clean, and I will give you my cock. Looked at the wet digits, feeling embarrassed and hot. But her desire to be filled with Leo's rock-hard shaft made her obey. She took the hand and licked the fingers. Her small tongue ran over the wet skin and tasted the sweet nectar that coated them. She sucked the fingers and cleaned it. Leo's lips curled up as he watched her perform the erotic action. After she was done, she looked up at him expectantly, as if asking what he thought about what she just did. He smiled and stroked her head, making her giggle happily. Her face was flushed. Then, she laid on the bathroom's floor on 4. The cold tiles made her hard nipples ache. She spread her legs and raised her butt, presenting herself to the man behind. Her body was ready for him. Her hole was dripping wet with anticipation. She wanted to be fucked hard. Please fuck me from behind," she pleaded, her face flushed in embarrassment. Leo didn't need to be asked twice. He approached her from the back, his thick cock pointing to the entrance of her small body. His hands gripped her petite waist, holding her steady. HNN, just by the tip entering her, let out a cute moan. Her body trembled and her knees went weak. Pleasure coursed through her body. He pushed deeper, his cock spreading her apart. He felt her tight walls squeeze him. It was warm, soft, and very inviting. She gasped when he entered her completely. It's in. Her eyes rolled back as she moaned. Smiling, he pulled her closer and kissed her passionately, their tongue entwined. He started to thrust in and out, his shaft rubbing against the folds of her pussy while his hand was exploring her small but perky boobs. Why your cock feels so good. His body quivered in ecstasy. She was feeling the pleasure of being filled by a thick rod, stimulating all her sensitive spots. And your pussy is so tight. The bathroom's floor wasn't a good place to have sex. The cold, wet tile made the experience less comfortable, but the two didn't care. Their bodies were burning and the water from the shower washed their sweat. Moans and grunts echoed through the room. The sound of the flesh slapping together and water spraying filled the air. Leo felt the tightness of her vagina clamping down on his member, trying to suck him inside. It was like a vacuum sucking on him. She was gripping onto his cock, refusing to let go. More she begged. Her pussy tightened around his cock and he felt himself about to explode. Please fuck me more. I want you to fill me up with your cum. Her words spurred him on and his hips increased their tempo. Each time he slammed his cock into her pussy, she'd scream louder. He could feel his cock expanding as it was getting close to climaxing. I love your pussy. I will make sure to fuck it every day. Please. His body quivered with pleasure as he plunged deeper inside her. Her tongue lolled out of her mouth and she let out a scream. The intense orgasm made her whole being convulse with joy. Her body spasmed uncontrollably as waves of ecstasy flowed through her entire body. At the same time, Leo thrust his member into the deepest part of her pussy. His tip poked her womb entrance. He let out a low grunt as he ejaculated. His cum shot inside her, straight in her cervix. A large amount of his sperm was injected directly into her womb, making her stomach slightly bloated. Her body trembled from the pleasure and her mind went blank. Her legs shook violently. As the two climaxed, Leo leaned down and kissed his lips, savoring her sweetness. He didn't want to stop. His member was still hard, and there was something that he wanted to do. Pulling his cock out of his tiny pussy, he saw a stream of cum flowing out. It dripped down her legs, leaving trails along her smooth skin. I haven't come enough, he said, moving his cock up. I will use this hole next. I will thoroughly train you myself. His member was pressed against the rim of her arsehole. She couldn't protest because her body was limp after such an intense climax. Her body still trembled from her previous orgasm. All she could do was grunting slightly from the pain that turned into pleasure when he thrust his cock deep inside her. Atilda felt her anus stretching around his thick shaft as he plunged it deeper and deeper, until he finally managed to penetrate her fully. Her pussy contracted around his member, trying to milk his seed out of him. As his cock fully entered her, she squirted and pushed all the semen in her pussy out of her body. She moaned in delight. She felt so full, she could barely move. Her eyes were rolled back, her lips formed an O shape. Her toes curled up and her back arched. Her body shook as her mind became hazy. He started pumping his cock in and out of her tight hole, pushing it even deeper and faster than before. Each time he pulled his shaft out of her, she felt like her mind went numb from pleasure. Ugh. Yes, yes. Give me your semen. I need it, Tilda. Her voice was hoarse and ragged. Her breathing grew heavier as her body shook violently. More. I want to be messed up more. Maybe, just maybe she's influenced by Anya's masochistic behavior. Leo thought about that and grinned. A masochist girl with a petite and small frame. Somehow it made sense. And it aroused him. An exhibitionist and a masochist. Grabbing her thighs, he thrust his shaft into her ass again and again, increasing his pace. Don't be greedy, you natural-born slut. He spanked her butt. I will use your holes all day. But if you keep asking me like this, I'll make sure to fill every one of your holes with my cock. His dirty words excited more. Her asshole was stretched open and filled by his huge member, pushing deep inside her and stretching her out to the max. She moaned as she felt every inch of her rectum being penetrated. Yes, Tilda. The feeling of his thick rod plunging deep inside her was overwhelming. Her mind went blank as she felt her orgasm coming up once again. Her entire body shivered and convulsed with ecstasy, her hips moving in rhythm to match Leo's movements. She wanted more of his cock inside of her. She needed his cock to pound her ass hard and fast. She was so close. I'm going to come again. Please let me have your semen. So good. Oh, ooh. All right. Leo grabbed her hips firmly as he slammed his cock deep into her. Her body shook and her breasts bounced as she climaxed again. He felt his cock being squeezed by her walls. Moaned louder than ever as she came, her insides clenching down hard around his member. He spanked her butt cheeks repeatedly. His dick expanded. His orgasm was coming. He pounded harder, thrust and faster, his balls slapping her butt cheeks as he increased his pace. He groaned in pleasure as he released his sperm deep inside of her, shooting it deep inside of her anus. Coming. Hilda. The sensation of having his thick rod pulsating inside of her anus drove you over the edge. As she climaxed once more, squirting all the while, she could feel her body shivering as she orgasmed again. The remaining semen in her womb was pushed out like a stream. He shot a big load, his member twitching violently and filling her with his hot cum. His stomach bloated a little from his seed. It felt good being filled with his sperm. A slutty, happy expression adorned her face. Her eyes were rolled up, and her tongue lolled out of her open mouth. Ha ha. Leo's dick slowly softened and he pulled out his cock, moving to her face and let her clean it. He moved like a programmed robot, sticking her tongue out to lick his member and sucking the cum off of it. She didn't leave even a drop of sperm on it. You did well. Leo patted her head gently and she smiled happily. She was a pervert and enjoyed being treated roughly. A stream of semen was gushing out from both of her holes, but she seemed happy with that. Her body was full of marks. She felt accomplished, knowing she was the most special woman to him. The feeling of having a thick cock shoved up her ass made her moan. He. Leader, that's unfair. As soon as Leo exited the bath with one arm, fully cleaned and adorned in an oversized white clothes, Anya pointed her hand at him and protested. I also want to be spanked. It seemed like this blonde assassin secretly watched them, apparent from her flushed expression and her breath that was slightly rougher than usual. She didn't look angry or disappointed at you. Rather, she looked jealous and wanted the same thing to be done to her as well. Anya, what are you talking about? Astrid, the only one with no experience in sexual things, quickly stood up from the sofa, looking confused and nervous. The former Peng clan's princess face was slightly reddened by Anya's words. Her expression showed she didn't want to get involved in their lewdness. I also want the leader to pound my ass until I can't think straight anymore. And I want him to spank me while choking me with a leash, Anya said, hugging her body. Yes, I want to be treated like a pet. Looked a bit uncomfortable and embarrassed. She didn't want anyone to know her secret. Meanwhile, Astrid couldn't even process what her friend said loudly. Fortunately, there were only them in the lobby right now, so no one heard them. What are you saying, Anya? Astrid retorted. What kind of request is that? A reasonable one. You're so boring. She pouted. Then, her eyes sparkled as an idea came to her. Right, Bang Bang. You should try it with me. Once you experience it, you will get addicted to it. Look at she looks happy, right? Don't call me that. Astrid shouted loudly, her face reddened like a tomato. If this was an animation film, then smoke would rise from her head due to how embarrassed she was. And I don't want to. I am a pure Aiden. And you should stop being too bold. Leo laughed seeing the two girls interact with each other. He found them cute. On the other hand, looked a bit ashamed that her secret had been found. It's so embarrassing, she muttered while hiding her face on Leo's arm. Anya saw me being spanked. How embarrassing. She looked like a small girl who was scolded by her father because she was caught masturbating. Leo found her expression really cute too. Are you embarrassed that people see you getting spanked? He asked. She nodded. But I love it when the leader's cock enters me, she continued. Leo was surprised at her answer and chuckled. He put her down and told her to rest while he went to the two bickering girls. All right, that's enough, he said. Don't force Astrid to do something she doesn't want, Anya. And I know that everyone in Hallowed Insect knew about our activities, but you shouldn't say it loudly like that. The lobby is a public space. Yes. She lowered her head. Sorry. And don't call me Peng Peng, Astrid added. Leo laughed, seeing them interact like a close sister. Anyway, I am going on an expedition soon to officially open our Mercenary Union branch in Kin City. Jessica will also move with Nabi to open the third branch, so I am a bit busy. Do you want to come with me and meet with your family, Astrid? My family? I'm fine. Thank you. I'm not sure if I want to meet them. Her eyes were downcast and she looked unsure. It seemed like her past hatred against her father and family for forcing her to marry a scoundrel from Tankland still remained. The problem had already been dealt with and the scoundrel had died, but it seemed she still hadn't forgiven her father. Are you sure? You won't get this opportunity often, you know? Anya interjected. Come on, Peng. Don't you think this is the right time to resolve the problem you have with your family? Just go there, say what you want, and punch them if they make you angry. I'll be there to support you. She pondered for a bit, then nodded her head weakly. Fine, I'll go. It's better than being angry at my family for years to come. And I am not weak like I was in the past. I'll be able to resolve this problem once and for all. Seeing her conviction, Leo and Anya smiled. Well then, let's get going. We have busy days ahead of us, Leo said. A few days later, Leo, along with Astrid, went to Kin City to watch over the opening of the new branch. Anya and were left in the base. Not because of anything, but bringing more members would be hard. In case there was a sudden request in the Mercenary Union, they would need to act fast and finish the requests. Leaving the base in the hands of Anya and would suffice, as the two could complete most of the requests. Kin City needed a 2-day trip using a carriage. It wasn't far from Chengdu and the road became better from the last time Leo visited, so the trip was pretty quick and easy. Leo and Astrid rode on a carriage with Ming Yukon, who accidentally also went to Kin City at this time. It reassures me knowing that you are here with me, Master Leo. Ha ha ha. No one will dare to attack our caravan, the merchant said happily. I am also thankful for the vehicle, Lord Ming. No need to thank me. It's my pleasure to help you after everything you've done, Master Leo. Please call me just Leo. I'm not a master of anything, Lord Ming. I am not like Lord Yangji there. I have no wealth nor power. Ha ha ha. How can the strongest man in the Central Plains say that? Everyone will be jealous hearing you saying this. Ming Yukon said. Also, call me Yukon. There's no need for honorifics between us, right? Leo nodded, laughing as well. "You're right. I'll just call you Yukon then. No need for honorifics anymore, right?" "Yes, Master Leo." "No, just Leo." Leo turned to Astrid, who sat in front of him. Her expression showed her boredom. She fiddled with her hair and looked at the outside of the carriage through the window. Her gaze was unfocused as she stared blankly into the distance. "Hey." Leo patted her shoulder. "Don't worry about your reunion with your family. If it doesn't work out well, we can do something about it." Astrid nodded, sighing softly. She didn't speak at all, but Leo knew she was worried and anxious about meeting her old family. After all, she was declared dead without hesitation by her father, the Peng clan patriarch. In the past, her father also forced her into marriage with the bastard Tang. This matter made Astrid lose her faith and trust in her family, and caused her to resent her father. If Leo was in her position, he would surely be pissed. However, this was a necessary step to expand the mercenary union. With the Murim alliance destroyed, the world experienced great changes. There were many wandering martial artists and sects that had no place to go. Not only that, the 9 great sects and 5 great clans began to expand their influence too. They wanted to take control of Central Plains resources, and the conflict began to break out. Naturally, they needed more manpower and hired more people to expand their army. Death count increased, the refugees became homeless, and more people turned to crime. As the world was slowly turning into chaos, there would be many more quests for the mercenary union to take. "Anyway, we're almost in Kin City," the middle-aged coachman said. "We'll reach the gates in less than 10 minutes. Thanks for the hard work." Ming Yukon replied, "The trip was smooth thanks to you, old man Hu." "Ha ha ha, Lord Ming. It was an honor to drive a safe and comfortable carriage." The new suspension made it much easier for the horse too. The coachman laughed. "This is the first time in my life I ride a horse without having my butt hurting." "Master Leo, you're really amazing." "Lord Ming has the right to choose the partner for the oil business." "Thanks, but I don't do anything." "The blueprints are in public, so anyone can use them." Leo shrugged and smiled. "I don't mind it." Ming Yukon and Old Man Who looked at each other and sighed. To be honest, the merchant still couldn't understand Leo's train of thought. Sometimes, he gave him a way to use his technology to make profit, while on the other hand, he released some technology for free in public. He had no care about his wealth or profit, something Ming Yukon still didn't understand. He wondered what his goal was, if not for profit. "Master Leo, what is the purpose of releasing the blueprint of the suspension? I know you don't have any reason to help others for free." "What's your purpose?" Leo looked up and shrugged. "Nothing much, just making the world better is all." His eyes turned cold as he continued. "There's nothing else. I don't need to care about money now, and I'm sure you can understand what kind of people are using it, right? They are merchants and normal people who need to go around." All Leo wanted to do was not to become a dictator like the mega companies in his old world. They monopolized all technologies and created an unequal world, making the gap between rich and poor even wider. That wasn't something he wanted. "By releasing the technology, I can make sure the technology will continue to exist even if I am gone. And the hidden geniuses with strange innovations that could help the world might be born too." Ming Yukon looked enlightened, and he nodded. He couldn't help but sigh. Leo was a genius. No, he was above a genius. He could plan for decades, if not hundreds of years. A simple move had many underlying plans under it. The merchant couldn't explain this man's existence with words. Sly, shrewd, or arrogant? From the look of it, Leo didn't think highly about the technology, or he didn't want it to monopolize in his hand. He didn't seem to be sly either, or arrogant. He was simply kind, and Ming Yukon could feel that kindness. "Maybe my biggest gain by throwing away my pride that day is this. I am glad that I made that choice that day." "You are an interesting person." Ming Yukon smiled. "I can feel the kindness in you. My father had once told me, kindness is the most dangerous and scariest weapon." "Kindness, huh?" "Yes, because it is the only weapon that is unpayable. If you are being helped by a kind person, and that kindness is real, then it becomes impossible to pay it off, because kindness cannot be repaid." "Well, I shouldn't say that, don't I?" "It sounds like a hypocrite because I often used underhanded tricks in business." The merchant laughed and sighed. "Master Leo, The world will be better if there are more kind people. And if there's anyone that will make this world a better place, that is you. I will serve as the other side of the coin, as I have always done that. I'll make sure you won't get bothered by trivial things like money." Smiling bitterly, Leo only nodded. A good guy? Him? In his standard, he wasn't a good guy. At least, not as kind as Ming Yukin had said. He only wanted to avoid repeating the mistakes in the past. "All right, enough about that. Let's focus on our work." Leo clapped his hands. "We're going to arrive soon." As usual, there were many carriages trying to enter Qin City. However, with Ming Yukin around, they were given a free pass and the guards quickly checked them. They passed the queue and entered Qin City. Ming Yukin and his caravan headed to their building in the city, while Leo and Astrid got off after they entered. The duo looked around and observed their surroundings. "It's so different now," Astrid mumbled as she looked at her surroundings. The city looked so different compared to the last time she came. Everything looks so peaceful. Is it because there is no martial tournament right now? The city feels less crowded than before. Or it could be because the situation around the continent has worsened. Leo added, "Let's go." "We will stop by the area near the red light district where the Mercenary Union building is built. Jack should be there already. I'm quite sure the building is almost done." "All right." Astrid followed behind him, still observing the city. Her mind wandered back to the time she was still a member of her clan. As the princess of Peng clan, her life had been really good. Everything she wanted, her parents and brothers would fulfill it. Anything that she asked for, her clan would give it to her. However, she had never felt any love from them. Astrid wasn't a spoiled brat, despite how her clan members treated her. Maybe a little, but that wasn't the point. In fact, Astrid had been a really responsible young girl that helped the clan with her work. She did her duties as a daughter of the patriarch without complaint, but the relationship between her and her father had been cold since the beginning. They rarely spoke to each other, but she didn't care as long as she was useful to her clan. Her dream had been shattered the day her father tried to marry her off to a bastard of a clan. "What should I do if I meet him? Punch him?" Without her realizing it, her train of thought had changed greatly since the last time she came to this city. "Let's walk faster." "The road to the red light district in this city isn't exactly a good place," Leo said. She nodded and walked faster. The two arrived at a small district located near the red light district of the city. This district was filled with many stores, inns, brothels, bars, and other shady places. Even though it was still noon, girls dressed in skimpy clothes stood outside their buildings. They smiled and flirted, inviting customers to enter the building to have some fun. The girls tried to lure too, but their effort was wasted since Leo wasn't interested, while Astrid didn't want to go in there. Smell of alcohol, sweat, and perfume assaulted their nose. The loud voices of men shouting and laughing filled the street, followed by the sound of glass breaking. It was a pretty normal sight in the red light district. Astrid covered her nose and frowned. "This smell," she muttered under her breath. "It smells like a cheap alcohol." "Yeah." Leo chuckled and pointed to one of the buildings, located right outside the district. "And this is our building." Unlike the buildings with many windows that allowed people walking down the street to see the sexy ladies dancing, their building had a simple appearance. The two-floor building wasn't built like the usual building in this world. It had a modern design with glass windows on the second floor. The glass was made with a one-way glass that allowed people to see outside, but not from outside to see inside. They were also reinforced and bulletproof. There were many security devices and measures installed in the building to prevent intruders and keep it safe from thieves or other dangers. It wasn't something a common person would buy. Astrid was surprised by this building, especially when she saw that it wasn't made from concrete but glass and steel. It was also protected with metal plates on all sides. She couldn't believe that such structure existed in this world. It looked so different than other buildings in the area. The exterior walls were painted black, making it stand out even more, and the large board with Mercenary Union written on it was an easy indication that this building belonged to the Union. "Isn't it too conspicuous?" Astrid asked. Leo laughed and nodded. "Yes, I deliberately asked them to design it like this. The more conspicuous the building, the more likely people will recognize it." "I see." but still. Astrid looked around again before following him into the building. They were greeted by the sight of people working hard at their jobs. They wore dirty clothes with tools in their hands. It looked like this building was manually constructed instead of using any magical technology she didn't know. Leader, one of them, who looked familiar to her, called out. It was Jack. Oh, you're here. Leo nodded and greeted him back. How is the situation? Anything that I need to know? Well, it's been almost a month since we built it and the work has been going well. Everything is almost done, he said with a smile. And we also found a good place to open the second branch here. Making it near the red light district will help the city's public safety improve and make entering anonymously easier. With a nod, Leo looked around and inspected the place. That's great. We need to start operating soon. And you're right, with the branch in this kind of place, it'll make it easier for the prostitutes to find jobs that suit their ability. Jack nodded and led them to the second floor. Let's talk more about the plan upstairs. We need to talk about many things before the grand opening of this place. I'll introduce you to the people we have hired as receptionists and guards. Leader, lead the way. Leo and Astrid went up to the second floor. The interior of the building was much cleaner than downstairs, and everything was organized neatly. There was no dust or dirt anywhere, unlike downstairs which looked like a construction site. The place had been completely cleaned up. It seemed that this place had been fully built. It was quite impressive for the workers to finish their job in less than a month. It's a nice room, Leo commented, looking at the interior of the build, which consisted of wooden floors and white walls. A glass wall sat behind a large desk, giving a futuristic atmosphere. The walls were covered with posters and advertisements for Mercenary Union's services. What left was the person sitting on the desk and became the branch manager. Leo's eyes darted at Astrid, and she looked back at him in confusion. She couldn't understand why he suddenly smiled, but she knew that whatever it meant couldn't be anything good, especially when he was looking in a certain direction. Could it be? She didn't have any clue what Leo was planning. Cold sweat started to flow from her forehead, but she didn't dare say anything. Please don't say it. But Leo's gaze remained unchanged and he turned his head towards her. Then, he spoke. What do you think about becoming a branch manager here? The grand opening of the Mercenary Union in Kin City was quite the spectacle. Entertainment was prepared, and every onlookers were given free cold drink that could be enjoyed in this hot weather. The crowd gathered outside of the building to witness this new place that would bring changes to the city. They came to see if there would be anything interesting to see, or if it was worth their time. Many wandering martial artists based on Kin City waited for this moment. They had heard rumors that this mercenary union would recruit anyone that wanted to be a mercenary. The payment was high and there were many jobs available, so this would be a great chance for them. Some people they knew already went to Chengdu to join. However, a lot of people stayed in Kin City for various reasons. For example, their contract with merchants, or they had no money to go to Chengdu, or family reasons. So when they heard that the Mercenary Union would also open in Kin City, everyone celebrated because now they could work without going to Chengdu. They didn't have to move and spend money to go all the way to another city, and it was a big deal. Astrid was sitting nervously behind a table in the reception room. She glanced at piles of documents in front of her, which she had to finish reading today before the grand opening began. She felt nervous because she wasn't used to this job. It was the first time she had to deal with such a large number of applicants who wanted to become a member of the union. Astrid was a branch manager. Although it sounded simple, she had a lot of responsibilities to handle. She would be responsible for recruiting new mercenaries, helping existing ones find jobs, and make sure everyone was satisfied. Not to mention the fact that she would also be responsible for handling all financial matters and other important tasks that came along with being the branch manager. Why did he make me a branch manager? I don't want this position at all. Astrid cried out loud as she buried her face in her hands. She didn't want this kind of job, especially when there were so many people waiting to join the Mercenary Union. She didn't even know if she was capable enough to handle all those responsibilities, but Leo had given her the position nonetheless. Damn it! Why did he do this to me? This isn't fair at all. She was really upset, but she had no choice. If Leo told her to be the branch manager, then she would do her best to perform well and meet his expectations. Still, This meant he trusted her ability. I have no other option, right? Sigh. She let out a deep breath, then closed her eyes to calm down. Astrid knew she should get used to this new role and work hard to make it successful. She was supposed to meet with her old family now but couldn't due to the piling documents. Was this what Leo planned from the beginning when he asked her to come with him, or it was a mere coincidence? Let's just get this over with, she muttered under her breath. With that said, she picked up the documents and started reading them one by one. Because she had learned how to do documents before, she was quite confident. But still, there were many things she had never seen before. It was quite difficult to read them and understand every detail, especially when there were so many terms that she wasn't familiar with. I want to ask someone. But who? Jack is busy. Her mind wandered to Leo and then to... However, they were busy with their own tasks, so she couldn't bother them. Besides, she didn't know how to contact them right now. She screamed in frustration. She was alone here, and the only person she could rely on was herself. She had to learn everything by herself and figure out what she should do. Let's start working. One by one, she began reading the documents and checking the details of each applicant. Then, after confirming everything was in order, she stamped the papers and put them in the completed stack. This task wasn't easy. Her brain felt like it would explode any moment now because she was trying too much to memorize every little detail of every single applicant. There were hundreds of applicants who came here to join the Mercenary Union, and it took her almost half an hour just to read each one's file. It wasn't something an average person could do, but she did her best anyway. And she suddenly stopped when she picked up a certain document. It wasn't an application document. It was a simple, folded letter. Curious, Astrid picked the paper and read it, and the moment her eyes saw the signature at the end of the letter, she froze and couldn't move. Peep. Bang. Her body shook violently and she almost fell off her chair. Her eyes scanned through the paper, and her hand trembled uncontrollably. In the letter, it was stated that Peng Clan wanted to hire Mercenary Union service for protection. She had never seen this kind of request before, but it made sense since the Mercenary Union provided all kinds of protection services, including escort and guarding duties. The problem was, it came from the Peng Clan, and it was addressed to this branch. What should I do with this? Frown marred Astrid's beautiful face and she was about to reject the letter, but then she thought better. It will be rude of me to reject the letter. Peng Clan was a big client, and the payment for this job was also very big. If I just think about myself, I will definitely reject it. But I also need to consider leaders and the union's benefits too. She wanted to decline, but the amount of gold was just too much to refuse. If the clan hired their service, they could earn quite a bit from them. Not only that, having one of the 5 great clans as a regular client would be a good boost for the reputation of the union. If Peng Clan was satisfied with their services, they could spread the word and recommend them to others, bringing more business opportunities to the union. But she couldn't bring herself to accept the offer. After all, Peng Clan was her family and they were the ones that declared her dead and tried to force her to marry that scumbag from Tang Clan. Gritting her teeth, Astrid tried to keep calm. Her face was pale as her body continued shaking. She didn't know why they would come to ask for a service. It wasn't like they were short of powerful members that could protect them. At that moment, the door was opened with a creaking sound and a voice was heard from the entrance. What's up, Astrid? Leo, who just returned from a tour to observe the condition of Kin City, entered the room. He noticed Astrid's pale expression immediately, so he approached her and placed his hand on her shoulder. Astrid, what's wrong? Leo's question brought Astrid back from her thoughts, and she turned to him in surprise. Seeing the worry on Leo's face, she smiled weakly. Nothing, she answered. Just thinking about something. Even when she said that, it was clear that she wasn't all right. Are you sure? Your face looks really pale. Did you get sick? His eyes wandered to the documents she held in her hands. What's that? Astrid's hand trembled and she quickly hid the letter behind her back. Nothing. Don't look. However, it was too late because he already grabbed it. He read the contents. His expression turned grim. I see. It's a job request from the Peng Clan, he said slowly. Astrid nodded quietly. I was thinking of accepting it. He hummed and thought about it. Then, he ripped the letter in pieces, surprising Astrid. Her eyes widened and she stared at him. What are you doing? She stammered out the words, but he only smiled and patted her head. Don't accept it if you don't want to. He spoke in a calm voice. It's not important. Besides, it's not like they can't hire other people for protection. But it will benefit the union. The money is big and the job is simple. Leo raised his eyebrow. And you're okay with this? He asked. Let me ask you, Astrid. Why do you think I created the hallowed insect and mercenary union? To have control and make profit. Right. To have control. But I also make these things because it is convenient and I want it to benefit the people around me. He smiled softly and continued. If it makes one of my members unhappy, there is no point in accepting this request. You are my member and you're a family now. If your happiness is disturbed, it is the same as losing. He sighed, and his eyes met with Astrid's. Having control doesn't mean just controlling people. If I control you, that is not control. It's being an asshole. Instead, it is better to control the situation and the surroundings so I can benefit you all. Do you understand? Hearing his words, Astrid felt her heart fluttering. She knew he was right, but still, she wanted to accept the request. After all, this was the best chance for her to make a good impression on Leo. When she looked down, she felt warmth on her head. His hand was stroking her hair, making her blush. I know that you're worried. However, you shouldn't think about others' benefits when your own happiness is disturbed. He said, smiling, you're the branch manager of this mercenary union. Every decision you make indeed affects many people, including yourself. But you also should remember that you have the highest authority here. She didn't answer, but she listened carefully. Leo continued, I know you're not the selfish type, at least not since you joined, so I won't say you to think only about yourself. However, it's best for you to do what you think is best for the union and your own self. Be more like your past self, a selfish princess who thinks only about her own benefit. But I can't. She shook her head. If I reject it, the union, it will be fine. Leo cut her off. Even if you accept it, I'll just reject the request anyway. They offer too little to hire our group who managed to destroy the Murim alliance, which means they are looking down on us. They are not worthy to be our client. Do you understand? His words resonate deeply within her heart, and she finally nodded slowly. All right. Leo then grinned and continued to ruffle her hair. Good. You should learn to be selfish from now on, he said cheerfully. Think more about yourself and not others. Also, it's not like the world revolves around you. Even if you think it is, it doesn't matter. Now continue your hard work and be a good branch manager. Yes. Astrid nodded enthusiastically and stood up. She followed Leo from behind and stopped when he did. Looking back at Astrid, he asked her again. Why are you following me? You said that I should be selfish. She replied. So I did. I don't want to work today and want to sleep in the office. I'll leave everything to you. Listening to her excuses, Leo sighed and patted her shoulder. That is that, and this is this. He said, there is no way I am letting you skip work on the first day. Astrid's expression immediately dropped. It had been 2 weeks since Mercenary Union opened their first branch in Kin City. Now the situation had calmed down considerably, and the business was doing well. Astrid, who was working in her office, sighed in relief and put a cold towel over her eyes. Finally, she muttered tiredly. She had been working for hours without rest since morning, so she wanted to take a break and relax for a while. No more paperwork to read through. She could finally rest. She leaned against her chair and let out another sigh before closing her eyes to get some rest. But just when she was about to fall asleep, knock knock knock, there were 3 loud knocks on her door. Groaning loudly, Astrid removed the wet towel covering her eyes. She glared at the wooden door before calling out loudly, "Who's there?" "Jack," a deep voice replied from behind the door. Sighing, she said, "Come in." The door opened with a creaking sound and Jack entered the room carrying 2 bottles of liquor in one hand and snacks on a plate on another. "Want a drink?" "Leader asked me to give you this when you are free. I think this is the perfect time to have some drinks, so I also prepared some food for us to eat," Jack said, "and he said that you might want to ask something." How troublesome. He left it to me to answer bothersome questions because he didn't want to remember the past. Astrid's face instantly brightened upon hearing that. Since she joined, She wanted to hear the stories of hallowed insect. She heard a part of it from Anya, but suddenly she didn't want to share any more than she had already. Why? It's interesting, she thought inwardly. A part of the story about how the leader saved them all in the past and the interesting tales about their life before. Not only that, she was intrigued where they actually come from and why they were called NPCs by their leader, especially since Anna said it was a rude thing to say to a person. Astrid had so many questions that needed answers, but she couldn't ask Leo directly because he would dodge her question and say something else. Now that she had a chance to ask someone else, she would seize the opportunity. But first, a broken bar I need to drink. Astrid's eyes lit up upon seeing the bottles of liquor. She grabbed one of them and poured herself a glass full of alcohol. Don't be hasty, Jack said with a smile. Shut up. You don't know how busy I have been in the last few days. Wow. To think the former Peng clan's princess would utter such vulgar words. Leader sure had a big influence on you. Hey, don't say that. Leader didn't influence me to be rude. You just don't know him yet. Jack chuckled and took a sip of his liquor. Then he continued to eat some snacks while waiting for Astrid to start asking him questions. So, what do you want to know? He asked. Well, first of all, she hesitated slightly before finally asking him her question. Is the leader really from a different world, like Anya said? Hearing that, Jack froze for a second before sighing. He caressed the pistol on his waist to calm himself down and smiled again. I need to control my anger a little bit. Anya, that girl really can't stop talking when she trusts someone. Well, not like anyone she trusts will spread the information outside. He then looked at Astrid seriously. Did you tell anyone else about that? Sensing the seriousness, Astrid shook her head. She knew the information was important and couldn't be leaked to outsiders. No, I haven't told anyone. Good. Jack sighed and continued to drink. I hope leader doesn't mind this, but well. And yes, we are all from far away. It's not like I can say we're all from different dimensions or whatever. Well, just think we came from a place that you can't reach no matter what. Far away place, Astrid murmured. In case you wondered why the leader asked you to meet your family once again even though you're declared dead, I think he just wants to give you a choice. He said, in the past, he had a little conflict with his parents and regretted not solving it after they passed away. So that's why. Astrid muttered. She then remembered what Leo said when he refused Peng Clan's request, saying he would reject it no matter what anyway. Maybe it was to prevent her from having another problem with her old family. Alright, now I want to know your story, Jack, she said. Tell me about yourself. How did you meet the leader in the first place? Hearing that, Jack grinned. My story? Huh? He chuckled and leaned back on his chair. It won't be pleasant to hear. I was once a thief, a murderer, and a criminal. A few years back, before he met Leo, Jack was just another criminal who spent most of his life in the streets. He lived a dangerous lifestyle and was constantly on the run from the cops, with just an old pistol in hand. He pickpocketed and mugged anyone that seemed weak. Sometimes, he also worked as an errand boy for a gang. After all, in the slums where he lived, it was either work or die. There were no options to choose from. Stop there, you brat. The policeman yelled at him, but he didn't listen and continued running through the crowded street, jumping over fences and pushing people out of the way. He had stolen an old, beat-up radio from a store. The radio wasn't worth much, but it was enough for him to eat for a day or two if he sold it. Besides, the owner of the shop was known to be a pedo and everyone in the slums wanted him gone. You can't catch me, old man, he yelled as he dashed forward, but his foot tripped over something on the ground. He lost his balance and fell on top of an elderly woman carrying a bag full of fruits. The elderly woman screamed and dropped her groceries. My leg. Sorry, Mom. He quickly got back on his feet, grabbing her arm and pulling her up with him. He apologized once more and continued running. The policeman that had been chasing after him was right behind him now, so he picked up his pace again. He didn't know where to run, so he ran wherever his legs could take him. Moving toward the alley, little Jack grinned and looked up to see the roof of the building beside the alleyway. Throw them, knife maniac. Shut up, you pistol maniac. Shouting from above was a kid with long black hair. He rolled a trash can filled with garbage, and the policeman that chased Jack had to dodge. When he managed to avoid it, a figure jumped down and stabbed his thigh with a small knife. "Fuck off, pig. We hate you." The boy slashed the rope that held a bunch of cardboard, and the police officer was buried under a bunch of them. "Catch us if you can." The kid flipped the cop off and laughed at him. Meanwhile, little Jack, who was watching, was chuckling and gave him thumbs up. "Not bad, knife maniac," Jack shouted to the boy, who replied with a middle finger. Both of them ran into a narrow street and escaped into a small, cramped room inside an old, run-down building. They were both panting heavily, their bodies drenched with sweat and dirt. "Ha ha, I think I lost my shoe." "I think you did too," little Jack replied between laughs. He reached into his pocket and took out an old, rusty pistol that was covered in grime and rust. The gun wasn't loaded because it didn't have bullets anymore, but it was still a weapon nonetheless. He caressed it gently and smiled as he put it back in his pocket. "So, what's the plan for tonight?" he asked. "I got an old radio. I can sell it for $2. Hey, Shuey, we won't get hungry tonight." "Oh yeah? Then we can give these brats something to eat." The boy with the black hair smiled, and pointed at a few small kids sitting in a corner of the room. They all looked tired and hungry. Some of them even had bruises on their faces. "Yeah, right," Jack said sarcastically. "These brat can't do shit without us. I guess we will only get one bread each, eh, Jack?" Shuey looked at him with sad eyes. His gaze lingered for a while, before he looked down. Jack frowned slightly before letting out a deep breath. "I am kidding, don't be so mad, okay?" He walked over to him and put his hand on the boy's shoulder. "All right, let's sell it and steal some more. I heard there will be mercenaries coming to the slum later. They should have weapons and valuable things we can use." Shuey's eyes lit up upon hearing that. "Let's do that," he grinned, and they went out to find something else to sell after hiding the radio. Later, both boys found a group of mercenaries sitting outside a small shop, eating noodles. Jack, responsible for stealing, had chosen his target, a black-haired boy, just a little bit older than him, appearing in his late teens, accompanied by a girl of the same age. Jack grinned, looking at the boy's bag and belt, where a scabbard was attached. He then turned his attention towards the girl's backpack. "All right, they seem to be pretty wealthy. That photon sword and the backpack should sell pretty well. Let's get this party started." He grinned mischievously and nodded to his friend, signaling to be ready to run. With a swift movement, he entered the store and extended his hands toward the two targets he chose. But suddenly, he felt like he couldn't move. Invisible threads bound his body, and he fell to the ground with a loud thud. He looked around frantically and saw the girl, one of his targets, looked at him with a cold expression. "What should I do to this thief, leader?" the girl asked the boy. She stood up, her hand gripping a piece of invisible threads, and stepped on Jack's back. She put more weight on her feet, causing Jack to groan in pain. The boy looked at the fallen kid and smirked. Well, I don't know. What should I do, indeed?" He smiled mischievously, looking at the struggling Jack beneath the girl's feet. "Say, what should I do to you, thief?" "Do you have an answer to that?" It was Jack's first meeting with Leo, his soon-to-be leader, the person who changed his life for the better and the one he was indebted the most to. "So that was how we met. He let us off and gave us food that night." Jack smiled as he remembered that memory. "Of course, after Sis Jessica beat me up. But it was a great day." Astrid, who listened to his story, could only smile wryly. "Jessica was a sadistic person from the beginning, huh?" "You have no idea." Jack shrugged and downed the last of his alcohol before putting it back down again. He leaned against the chair, and his expression turned somber. Life in the slum was harsh, especially in those years where the government cut the welfare budget to support the war. Dangerous mercenaries that lost their job in the war came and started a gang war. There was a time where we were so hungry we stole anything from a store just for a day of food. Astrid listened to his story silently, not saying a word. Jack then took another deep breath and smiled. "Well, to be honest, I betrayed the leader once." "Huh?" Astrid looked at Jack, her eyes wide. She was shocked by his sudden confession. "I was one of his enemies, a traitor." Jack chuckled. "Leader was kind. But me and Shuey got entangled with a big gang and had to work with them. We didn't know the leader was their enemy back then." "And then?" Jack chuckled. "Sis Jessica showed me hell. Yet, Leader still helped us, Jack said, smiling. The kids from the slum were taken as experiment subjects. We can't save them alone, so we had to beg for help. But instead, we were used. Leader saved us, and killed everyone in that lab. Jack sighed. He was remembering a painful memory, but his expression showed a smile. Sorry, but my story stops here. Just know that he had pulled me from the darkest time I experienced, and that is why I'm here. We're all here because of his kindness, even when we betrayed him. I see. Astrid nodded slowly. She was satisfied with the story she heard. I have to go. Jack stood up from the seat. If there is something that is not clear, just ask the leader directly. What I can say to you is, don't throw away your family so easily. Give them a chance. The last one. All right. And so, he left the room. While Astrid was busy with paperwork, Leo didn't exactly idling around and doing nothing. In fact, as the top leader of the Mercenary Union, he had something only he could do, a business that couldn't be replaced by anyone else, namely attending a banquet. He had to go around and promote Mercenary Union service to other potential clients. It was not a job anyone could do, as they had to meet the potential client directly and explain what kind of services they were offering. It was a tough job, but he managed to do it nonetheless. Though he said that he didn't need Peng Clan's support, he still needed to convince those with money to hire the mercenaries. Most people in the Kin City were either merchants, martial artists, or rich people. Of course, getting patronage from normal citizens was also important. Not every mercenary was capable of handling important tasks. In fact, most people who joined in the Mercenary Union were not all strong, mainly 1 to 3 stars martial artists. So they had to rely on the richer people's support and get their recognition. They would have an easy job with good pay, so there was nothing to complain about. I am tired. He sighed and rubbed his temple, massaging the tense muscle of his neck and shoulders. He had just finished meeting the owner of a big company, an old man named Liu who owned a large textile company. Liu had asked to escort one of his ships, which was supposed to deliver a large shipment to a different port city in the area. But due to the increase of the crime rate lately, they had decided to hire mercenaries for safety. It wasn't an easy task since there were many risks involved in such an operation. Thank you for accompanying me, Ming Yukin. I appreciate it. Ming Yukin smiled. I'm also doing my business too. Don't mind it, he replied. I have heard that they will start trading some of my oil in the cities. I will also actively ask the Mercenary Union to help with escort on top of my private guards. Indeed. Leo smiled. Both men continued chatting as they left Liu's building. A carriage waited for them, so both entered the carriage and drove off to their respective destination. After a while, the two arrived at a restaurant owned by Liu. Just to celebrate their new partnership and friendship, he invited both Leo and Ming Yukin to have dinner with him in his restaurant. Of course, it would also be a business opportunity for the owner. When they arrived, Liu immediately greeted them and led them to a private room where he had reserved for them. Welcome. I have invited some friends of mine who were interested in your Mercenary Union. Please take your time and have some good dinner, Liu said cheerfully. The atmosphere around him changed completely, from the strict and serious demeanor to the friendly, welcoming host that greeted his guests. Thank you for inviting us, Leo replied and looked around the room. There were many tables arranged in rows on each side of the hall. On each table sat 4 or 5 men dressed in fine clothing, drinking alcohol or having dinner while chatting with their companions. Some even wore expensive jewelry such as rings or necklaces on their bodies. It was obvious they were rich people or merchants with good business. The two followed Liu and walked toward an empty table near the corner of the room where he took them earlier before. Ah, Master Leo, we've been waiting. My name is Yong Gong. It's an honor to meet Master Leo. Ha ha ha. We've heard about your amazing deeds. Please have a seat and have a chat with me. They were welcomed by a few men that were waiting in the private room, with smiles on their faces. The atmosphere was lively, and everyone had fun as they conversed. Leo and Ming Yukin joined their conversation as the waiter came and served food. The dishes were delicious, but not too fancy, and they tasted great. While enjoying his meal, Leo glanced at the other men who sat beside Liu. Remembering all of their names was easy as he could just record it in his mind, so it would be easier to remember their faces later. One by one, Leo recorded all of the guests in his head. Some of them wore fancy clothes and others had simple ones, but none looked shabby at all. However, a banquet composed of high-profiled people was bound to attract some troublemakers, and this time was no exception. Just when Leo and the others were having fun, a commotion could be heard outside the private room. A man could be heard shouting angrily at someone outside. "Hey, you dare to stand in my way? Do you know who I am?" The angry man yelled furiously. "I apologize, young master," a calm voice answered back. "I am sorry for stopping your path. However, there is an important discussion going on inside. Please come back tomorrow." "Ha! Do I look like someone who can be stopped so easily? I told you that it's important. I have to meet him right now. I am really sorry, but you can't go through." "What the fuck, you bastard!" "My apologies. I will settle it quickly." Liu apologized and exited the room. Soon, his voice boomed outside. "Hey, you ungrateful brat, bastard! I am here to bring urgent news and your servant stops me. You old coot." "How disrespectful." "Who are you calling an old coot?" Leo chuckled as he heard this exchange. His interest was piqued, so he followed Liu and went out of the room to check the situation. When he opened the door, the voice from earlier continued. "Something happened in Qin City. The Lord. They found the Lord's dead body in his manor." Leo was taken aback by what he had heard. "Wait. What did you say?" "The Lord was the one that governed this city, right? So what does this mean? Was he killed?" Leo was taken aback by what he had heard. "Wait. What did you say?" "The Lord was the one that governed this city, right? So what does this mean? Was he killed?" "The Lord is that guy, right? The one he saved in the past from the bastard Tang's plan. He should be capable of protecting himself, being a martial artist of a high caliber." Although not known to the general public, he had a high level, and he also had many capable subordinates under his command. "Did someone manage to kill him?" "Who?" A frown formed on Leo's face as he tried to come up with a reason why the man would die. Who could be capable enough to kill the Lord in the manor filled with martial artists and his subordinates? Then he thought about it more. He knew one particular man who had the power and ability to do such a thing. At that moment, his communication device rang and he accepted the call. Astrid's voice rang out, and her panicked voice echoed in his ear. Leader, I can't make this decision alone. Help me." "About the matter of the city lord, right?" How do you know?" "I mean, yes. The city lord is dead. What should I do?" "There will be chaos if I just let this spread." "Leader, help me," Astrid pleaded, and she sounded distressed and worried. "Wait for me there. I will return soon." After explaining the situation to Ming Yukan and the host, Leo returned to the Mercenary Union office. When he entered, a bunch of workers were running around with panicked expressions, trying to keep things in order. Meanwhile, Jack was standing behind Astrid, his hand patting her head to comfort her. "Look, leader has arrived." Astrid was startled and she quickly stood up. "Leader." "All right, tell me what you know so far." Why yes." Astrid then began to explain. "I was contacted by someone who claimed that they knew the truth behind the death of the city lord. They knocked on the window from outside and left a letter." "And the letter?" Leo asked as he took a seat. "It is right here." Jack took the envelope and handed it to Leo. He took the letter out and began reading. The content was mostly just random gibberish, but the most important thing was the fact it mentioned the Qin City's lord had been assassinated by a certain group of assassins called Black Dragon Triad. They wanted to create chaos in the city to profit themselves. "I see." Leo nodded. "So it was just the usual plot of bad people doing something evil after the greater evil is defeated. In short, remaining thugs from Supreme Evil followers showed up, becoming Black Dragon Triad, and killed the city lord. They want to take control of Qin City, creating a lawless land and recruit more people for their organization." "Is that it?" He summarized the contents of the letter, which Astrid and Jack agreed with. "Yes, that's what the letter said." "Good," Leo said, crumpling the paper in his hand. "Jack, take care of the Union for a while. I think Astrid needs hands-on experience of being a good leader, so I will take her with me. What do you mean? I mean what I mean, follow me. Saying that, he grabbed Astrid's collar and pulled her up from her seat. Wait, leader. Don't pull me. Astrid's protest fell on deaf ears as she was dragged by Leo out of the building, and so, the two of them headed towards the direction where the manor was located, leaving behind the confused workers who were left to their own devices. When he arrived at the main street, he released Astrid from his grip. He looked at her with a serious expression and said, Astrid, you are the branch manager. What do you think is the most important thing for the manager of an organization? Being able to control everything. Astrid answered immediately, thinking that it was obvious, but Leo shook his head. That's indeed important. But firstly you need to stay calm to take control, he said. And what was your reaction when you received this letter? Panicking and waiting for me? That's wrong. He stared directly at Astrid's eyes, and she couldn't look away. You have to stay calm, assess the situation with a cool mind, not panic like an idiot, and think of a way to solve the problem yourself, he explained. Being calm will help you think rationally and logically. If you're panicked, you won't be able to think properly. Now, tell me what you should do first when you gained a shocking information from an unidentified source. Verifying the source. Yes. If it is true, you will gain valuable information to make your next step. But what if the letter is just some random prank and lies to disturb you? And you just made yourself busy and worried for nothing? I will be an idiot. Astrid admitted that fact. She looked down and her shoulders dropped. That's why you have to stay calm and think. I will help you. So let's go to verify the source. Let's visit the manor to see the truth, he said, patting her shoulder. Making a mistake is human nature, but you must learn from it. Accidentally, this is an important case that you must learn how to solve. I will help you learn from this. She nodded. Leo and Astrid arrived at the manor where the city lord lived. It was a large, luxurious mansion, surrounded by a high wall. Both of them used optical illusion to hide themselves and sneaked through the security, bypassing all the guards. They were invisible, so nobody saw them as they walked past the gate. Strangely, the guards weren't in shambles and the situation seemed normal. They guarded the general area of the mansion without much care in the world. It was like a normal day. It didn't look like their master was killed at all. It's strange, Astrid whispered. There is no panic among the guards. Leo hummed. It's indeed peculiar, but it might be just a ruse. Let's see more before we can conclude anything. Right. Astrid nodded in agreement. She followed behind Leo as they continued walking around the place, trying to gather information. However, after walking around the area for a few minutes, Leo suddenly stopped and turned around to face Astrid. His eyes widened when he saw someone coming out of the building, and he quickly hid himself and Astrid behind a wall. Leo recognized his face. How could he not? He had seen him up close before. It is City Lord, right? Astrid said. She peeked from behind the wall and observed the man carefully. His hair was long, black and smooth as silk. As she had already met him once in the tournament in the past, she also remembered his face. He's alive? Indeed he is. The man was dressed in fine clothing and wore a hat. His appearance was exactly like the city lord that Leo met before, and he didn't seem to have any injury or anything. And there was no strange chi or appearance at all. He was alive, kicking, walking, and breathing just fine. It's confirmed. The letter and information people received was a lie. The city lord is alive and kicking. Astrid sighed and her shoulders slumped. What do you think about this, leader? Why would anyone make up such a lie? Why don't we find out now? He said and grabbed Astrid. We'll follow him. I have some questions for him. All right. Leo and Astrid quickly moved forward, following the city lord's movement. He left the building with two of his men, one on each side. Both were wearing similar clothing, but they looked more like bodyguards than actual servants. Let's go, he said. Right. Leo and Astrid moved closer and closer to their target, following them and wait for the perfect moment to ask. They moved pretty secretly, deliberately using the street without many people in it. And there was a certain place with no one in sight at all. At that moment, he decided to show himself to City Lord. May I ask you some questions, City Lord? Leo and Astrid showed up, revealing themselves. Who are you? Identify yourself. When they appeared in front of him, The two men turned his heads towards them and raised his eyebrow. They grabbed the hilt of their swords and showed hostility, but Kinwaiki, the city lord, raised his hand to stop his escort. "Stop. Do you have a death wish?" he said. "It is the leader of the hallowed insect. You can't win against him, huh?" Both men blinked and stared at Leo. They then nodded their heads in understanding. Oh, the escorts knew their ability well. They had heard a rumor about a man with the ability to defeat an entire clan of martial artists alone. They were aware of Leo's existence and the rumors surrounding his strength. "It's fine. He's not hostile toward me," Kinwaiki once again said, smiling softly at Leo. "It's been a long time since we met, hallowed insects leader. The last time we met was on that roof, right?" "Indeed." Leo smiled, but then he turned serious. "So, what about the information that I got from the letter? Is it true or is it not?" Kinwaiki's expression became complicated, and then he sighed. "It's a bit complicated. So, may I ask for a place to talk in private?" "My house is too unsafe right now." "Then follow me. I know a good place," Leo said. He then pointed at the two guards. "If these two wanted to follow, feel free to. But don't make a lot of noise. Don't worry. They are trained and disciplined enough to keep quiet." He turned to his men. "Good. This way." With that, Leo guided them through the back entrance of the Mercenary Union. Astrid wanted to ask something but kept quiet. She remembered the lesson earlier to not make any decision without thinking. After they entered, they were greeted by Jack. He understood the situation just by glancing at three guests behind Leo and opened the secret underground room. "I suggest the guards stay here," the gun maniac suggested. "The underground room can't fit this many people and the security is good, so no worry." Kinwaiki pondered for a bit but decided to leave the two escorts. "Stay and guard this place," he ordered. "Understood." Then, the city lord nodded and looked at Leo, more specifically, at Astrid who stood beside him. From his look, he seemed to recognize her identity. Sensing his distrust, Leo patted Astrid's head and smiled. "Don't worry, this girl is my subordinate and you can trust her. Also, she's this branch's leader. So essentially she will be the one taking care of your problem if you want to hire us." He didn't speak and just hummed in understanding, so they went into the underground room. Once inside, he sighed again and began to explain. "The letter was indeed fake," he said, "but I will die soon enough." His words surprised both Astrid and Leo. "What did you mean?" Astrid asked. "Are you sick?" "Not really," he sighed, "but I feel like there is someone targeting my life." "Oh?" Leo perked up. "So, do you want to hire the Mercenary Union for protection?" Kinwaiki shook his head and rejected that option immediately. "I have too many enemies, and if you take the case, it will affect the Mercenary Union negatively," he said. "My enemies are high-ranking individuals. I can't affect my benefactor's business by bringing unnecessary troubles." Surprisingly, he was a considerate man. At first glance, it seemed that he was just some weak-willed man that had no power or influence at all. But it appeared that he actually cared for his people and his benefactor. As a city lord, he must have known what kind of trouble Leo can attract if he accepted the protection. "I can't ask for your help directly, but I have a request for you instead." "What is it?" "Please hide me. The letter I sent through my subordinates and the rumor I spread, it's all to buy me some time." Kinwaiki looked at Leo and Astrid. "I need some time and a place to hide from those who hunt me down." "So you're going to fake your death?" "Exactly." A typical tactic for those with authority who wanted to escape assassination, but Leo understood that there was nothing else Kinwaiki could do in his situation. He was alone and had no support, and even though he had the title of City Lord, he didn't have the strength to fight off the assassins sent after him. The man sighed. "I will be hunted down if I stay as a city lord, and I don't want to endanger those around me either." "Then what do you want to do?" "Disappearing. Disappear and live a normal life." Leo looked at the city lord. His expression was resolute, and his eyes were full of determination. Would that be a good decision for him? Disappear and live a normal life, abandoning his duty to protect the people and city, leaving his post to someone else who could be worse? Or was this even an option? It was something to consider. But in the end, "Fine, as long as you pay us, we will work. We don't care about anything but money and profit." But Having a city lord missing in a place where we just opened our branch will make us look bad, don't you think? Do you have a plan to make yourself disappear without bringing a bad name to us? I have prepared for this. This is why I sent that letter to the Union. Kinwaiki then took out a stack of documents from his robe, and Leo saw a lot of information written in it. This is my will and some information about the criminals and thugs in Kin City. My will states that everything will go to my adopted son, he explained. My adopted son's name is Kinshangu, and he will inherit everything I own. Don't worry, he's a capable man and knows my situation. The mercenary union won't be affected by this. Rather, many jobs will pop up. Huh? You think this through? Leo grinned. Yes, and if it comes to that, I will recommend you to my successor. The city lord said, I will also pay for this. I don't know how much you will charge me for hiding me, but I am sure it will cost a lot. Not as much as you think. We have House Act's cooperation to create a new identity. I suggest hiding in the new capital. There is no beggar sect yet in that area, so you can integrate yourself pretty quickly. If you have some skill, I can even create you a background as an apprentice from an artisan in a village in a remote place. Leo suggested. That is good. I have always wanted to be an artisan. Ha 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 ha. Kinwaiki smiled and nodded. That will do. How about the payment? Just tell your successor to pay. We will negotiate the price later. You will have to pay for a new identity, your living expenses, a new home, and your security. Is that all right? Sure. Thank you. Kinwaiki then bowed deeply to him. Thank you so much for accepting my request. I will be in your debt forever. You don't need to bow, City Lord. We're just doing our job, he said, turning to Astrid, who looked back with respect and trust in her eyes. Good. You learn. Leo grinned inwardly. Astrid was finally able to control herself, not letting the emotion and situation clouded her judgment. That was the first step to becoming a great leader. And then, he realized something. He hadn't fulfilled the promise of making Astrid meet with her family again. Arranging meetings with Peng Clan was difficult after he tore their letter and returned them back in pieces. Well, now it would be easier. With help from the City Lord, it would be easy to make a reason to meet Peng Clan again. Let's go. I have to make sure your disappearance will be perfect. He then looked at Kinwaiki. And we need to make a new face and new identity for you. But before that, I might have to ask for a favor from you. Anything. Good. He then turned to Astrid, who looked back at him with eyes filled with curiosity and expectation. He smiled at her and ruffled her hair, which made her blush slightly. Leo gave Kinwaiki a room to hide in the building until everything was ready and went to the second-floor office room with Astrid. Do you understand the situation now, Astrid? He asked. Astrid nodded, understanding what her leader meant. I understand. I was too quick in judging and let emotion get the better of me. Yes, you are. That was a good learning experience. He was satisfied with her answer and nodded. Now, tell me what you know about it. I will judge your understanding and add some information if necessary. Astrid thought for a bit and began explaining. As the City Lord of the city, Kinwaiki was the highest authority of the region, and he is a noble and rich man. The situation in the Central Plains right now is pretty bad, with sects and clans trying to fight over control. Her words trailed off as she thought for a bit before continuing. He's not safe, so he decided to hide and leave the position to someone else. She said, the power struggle and the upcoming war made him lose the protection from the higher-up. He's not safe, so he has to go into hiding. That's about right. Leo nodded approvingly, but not completely. If that's the case, he won't relinquish his power to his successor and just disappear. There must be something more. Is it because of his successor? She asked, and he responded by smiling at her. It seemed that she had hit the bullseye with this answer, and he was quite pleased by it. He chose to die and disappear to protect his successor. Which means, there is a power within Kint City that is bigger than him. Someone capable of killing a city lord in his manner without leaving any traces behind. He said, that, or the one responsible has a backing of a higher power than him. You're correct. To be honest, Leo understood the situation perfectly. He secretly contacted Nabi and asked for explanation when he followed Kinwaiki earlier. As expected from a city lord, His office in his house contained a lot of important documents that were not meant to be leaked. And, thanks to Nabi who was able to read the document fast, they could quickly grasp the situation and make a good plan to counteract it. In a simple term, Kinwaiki was about to be assassinated alongside his successor to take control of the city. It was a simple but effective ploy. Qin Shangyu was his successor and a good candidate for the position of city lord, and with him in charge of the city, the current city lord could retire peacefully. Not only that, with Liu showing his face in the city lord manner later, the culprit would know that Kinwaiki's successor and the Union were working together. Thus, they wouldn't suspect the truth, especially with the city lord spreading false rumors and making a fake letter of his own to trick them. At the same time, the traitor would back away, fearing the hallowed insect would find out about their identity and get back to them. As expected, Kinwaiki was not as weak-willed as he looked. Good job, Nabi, he thought. Well done. But remember, Astrid, this case is just one among many that will come in the future. There will be more and more people coming to the Mercenary Union and seeking help, so you need to stay sharp and think of the best way to solve it. Yes, leader. I will keep that in mind, she replied, nodding her head earnestly. Her eyes sparkled as she listened to him speak. Leo looked at her, and she stared back with eyes filled with admiration and expectation. He thought that he could leave this case entirely to her. Leaving it to Astrid proved to be a correct decision. With Jack giving her direction, she was able to arrange everything perfectly. Kinwaiki, now with a different face, left for a journey toward the capital, leaving a will in the hands of the Mercenary Union. Inside was the City Lord's testament and request for protection from the Mercenary Union. The letter also stated that his will should only be delivered by the Union in person to the recipient. Qin Shangyu didn't live in the same manner as Kinwaiki. He was a busy man who worked outside and only visited his adoptive father every now and then, so it wouldn't be strange for him to receive the will through a third party. With this, they could cover up Kinwaiki's escape perfectly. The letter and the will would serve as the evidence and proof that the previous city lord was killed by a third party, and his death would not bring shame or doubt upon the Mercenary Union. For his new identity, Leo chose the background of an apprentice of a blacksmith in a village far away because apparently Kinwaiki had a hobby of making weapons. It was the perfect cover story for him, especially since the capital city didn't have beggars sect's presence in it. The city's beggar sect didn't expand their influence that far yet. By integrating in the society early on, Kinwaiki could easily adapt himself and hide among the crowd without anyone noticing. After Astrid returned, Leo patted her head in recognition. Good job, Astrid. Now, how about the other part? It's finished. The successor knows what happened and is working to become the new city lord now. We stationed one mercenary group, Brown Bear, around the manor as his guards, she reported. Good. He nodded approvingly. Then, let's talk about your next job. You have to go to Peng Clan. What? So suddenly? What do you want me to do there? To meet your old family, of course. Astrid's eyes went wide. Her face became red and her hands trembled. Yes. She didn't know how to respond. She had prepared her heart, but she never thought he would take action this fast. Meeting her old family again, after everything she didn't think it was the right decision. It might bring a lot of trouble for both sides. Leader. Seeing her troubled expression, Leo sighed and patted her head. Don't worry. You will be there for business, not as your old self. You're there as Astrid from Hallowed Insect, not as Peng Clan's princess. Leo explained. Your goal is to get a promise from them. From the look of it, they want to get close to the Mercenary Union, and this is a chance. Don't disappoint me, Astrid. You know what to do, right? Work? She asked, unsure of herself. She still couldn't believe what she had heard, but Leo simply nodded his head. Yeah, work. Now chop and go. Don't keep your old family waiting. Alright. Astrid didn't want to go, but she was the branch's leader. There was nothing she could do to avoid this meeting. Thankfully, as a branch manager, she held the authority and the saying here. Even her senior couldn't refuse her request. I will drag Jack with me. It's not like he has something else to do. While the Mercenary Union was trying its best to expand its influence, Shui managed to reach the Central Plains edge after a few days of walking. The area was close to a huge lake, which was a source of water for the region. Flowers bloomed all over the place, and the air smelled fresh and clean. In a war-filled central plains, a place like this was rare. Everywhere was filled with barren land, desolation, and ruins. Even though the area was beautiful and had abundant resources, it was still dangerous because of the lack of security. But, for some reason, this place was peaceful. There was a log house standing by itself in the middle of a small forest surrounded by trees and bushes. The swordsman from Hallowed Insect looked at the house and approached it. On his waist were two swords, a white and black one. If looked closely, the white sword was broken. Its sheath looked worn out and old, but it didn't take away their majestic feeling from it. The sound of water running in a river nearby reached Shui's ears. As he got closer to the house, there was a single presence inside, sitting in meditation. Shui could feel his energy, calm and serene. His presence reminded him of the lake, where the surface was undisturbed and the bottom was hidden from view. "Excuse me." He knocked on the door softly and waited for the reply. A moment later, he heard a faint voice coming from within. "Yes, please wait a minute," a woman answered. Soon after that, a beautiful young lady in a simple robe appeared from inside the house. She had a gentle and soft appearance and her hair was tied in a simple braid that hung over her shoulder. She smiled innocently like a naive woman, but her hand, hiding behind her back, was holding a small sword. She wasn't as defenseless as she seemed. "What's your purpose for coming here? What are you looking for?" The lady looked at Shui with curiosity. She didn't seem hostile or wary, but she kept her distance from him. Shui noticed this but he didn't say anything about it. "My name is Shui, and I have a chance to have a bout against Xiao Artan a few times. I am here to deliver his final massage," he said calmly while cupping his hand, following the greeting custom of the Central Plain. "I am also here to gift this back," he said as he unsheathed his white sword, a broken weapon. It was the sword Xiao Artan used to fight against Hart, as well as to bury his remains. Hearing his words, the girl's eyes widened. She observed Shui from top to bottom and noticed the black sword he carried with him and the sheath of the white sword that was hung on his waist. "Artan's sword." "You are one of his opponents," she murmured to herself. "Please, come in. I'd like to hear the story of how he lost." "I am ashamed, but I am not his last opponent," Shui said. "However, I have watched his fight, so I can tell you the result of his fight against his last opponent." Shui and the girl, who introduced herself as Xiao Aru, sat in a comfortable position inside. He then told the story, how Xiao Artan fought valiantly but died in vain in the battle against Hart, the follower of Supreme Evil. He explained every detail of their fight and how the two clashed in their final battle. After listening, the girl remained silent. She didn't shed a tear, but she couldn't hide the sadness that appeared on her face. A complicated feeling showed on her face, and Shui knew that it was the expression of someone who was grieving over the death of her beloved one. Her hand caressed the remains of the sword on the table gently, and it trembled slightly. "My condolences." Xiao Artan was indeed strong and he fought until his last breath, he said. It wasn't a lie. The swordsman who had challenged the world alone, despite the odds, had indeed shown his strength and courage. "I know." Xiao Aru smiled faintly. Her voice quivered, but there was no sorrow or regret in her words. It was just acceptance. "My father has always been a fool. He wandered around the world after my mother's death and challenged many strong people. He always came home injured, not that he returned often." Her hand then clenched tightly and her voice cracked. Her face distorted and tears rolled down from her eyes. "I am sad but not surprised that this is the outcome. I always knew there would be no other ending. I just wished that he wouldn't have died in vain. And I am glad he did." Shui listened quietly. He understood her pain. It must be hard to lose a parent, especially if it was someone like Xiao Artan. "Say, this Hart fellow. He's an evil being, right?" "He is one of the most evil people I have ever encountered. From our investigation, Hart had killed more than 100,000 people, sacrificing them in a gruesome way to revive Supreme Evil." "Good, that's good. I don't know if it's right for me to say this, but at least, his death was not in vain." Xiao Aru smiled faintly as she said so. Her eyes glistened brightly and her lips trembled slightly, Thank you for telling me about my father. No problem. Now that I have fulfilled my promise, I will take my leave. Please wait a minute. Xiaoru suddenly stood up and went into the inner room. After a few minutes, she returned with changed clothes and her face was cleaned. She wore a light, purple dress with flowers embroidery on its sleeves and skirt. On her head, she also wore a hair ornament made of white flowers and a red jewel in the center. May I request a duel? I'm not as skilled as my father, but I do know how to wield a sword, she asked politely, and Shui could see that her eyes were clear. There was no longer sadness in them, only a strong will and determination. It was as if the previous event hadn't affected her at all. Looking at her, Shui nodded. He didn't back off from her request, and instead, he accepted it. If that's what you want, Shui replied calmly and got up. Then I accept. Both of them moved a bit away from the lake and flower garden, at a grassland with nothing around them. Ready? Xiaoru raised her sword, pointing it at the swordsman who came to her abode. Yes. Good. She took a deep breath, and her eyes focused on the target ahead. A faint light emitted from her sword as she gathered her chi around it. The sword then glowed with a silver color and began vibrating slightly. At the same time, Shui unsheathed his black sword. He didn't plan to use nanites to enhance his physical power. Instead, he planned to use chi. He unlocked, which was bordering 6 stars, and unlocked his element already. Why? Because he wanted to have a proper duel against Xiaoru. From what he felt, she was also a 6 stars martial artist, bordering 7 stars. Her stance was solid and she was clearly experienced in using a sword. As a swordsman himself, he would love to experience her sword technique. Let us begin. A wind blew through the field, carrying the scent of flowers. With it, Shui and Xiaoru stood facing each other, both holding their respective weapons. The girl charged first, swinging her blade toward her opponent with incredible speed. She moved swiftly like a breeze, but her strikes were heavy and precise like a raging storm. In response, Shui parried every blow using his sword. His movements were elegant yet powerful, his strikes accurate and sharp. Both of them exchanged blows in rapid succession, each strike clashing with another. Their swords clashed again and again, creating sparks of light in the air. As they fought, their skills increased exponentially. Soon enough, neither could keep up with the other's pace and resorted to using their full strength. Each clash became fiercer than the last. Grass got cut as their swords slashed the air, and their surroundings were filled with dust and debris from their battle. Amazing! You're very strong, Xiaoru exclaimed as she dodged Shui's attack. She took a distance from him and changed her grip. With 2 hands on the hilt, she swung the blade horizontally. Dragon's Claw. Her blade transformed into a giant dragon's claw, tearing apart everything in its wake. It created a deep wound on the ground, splitting the ground apart, splitting water. Shui's black sword glowed brightly and the light turned into a wave, splitting the dragon claw into half, avoiding his body and crashing into a tree behind him. The giant tree was cleaved in half and it fell down. Not bad. I have not seen anyone able to stop my techniques so easily. Xiaoru nodded, acknowledging Shui's strength. She didn't expect such a young man to be this strong. You too, Shui replied. Your sword looked similar to Wandering Sword Saint. However, it lacked the fierceness and instead is filled with calmness. Xiaoru grinned. Indeed, that was the result of me practicing his sword style. His brute and fierce style is too unsuited to me, so I changed it a bit. The girl took a stance and readied her sword, the blade pointed at Shui. The chi flowed from her body into her sword and it vibrated. Let's get serious now. A silver dragon formed around her blade, coiling and protecting the sword in its grasp. Xiaoru charged forward with incredible speed. She slashed downward at her opponent with all her might, sending out a massive shockwave that shattered the earth around her. Her sword glowed with an intense brightness, blinding those nearby. However, Shui wasn't intimidated by this display. Instead, he calmly stepped aside, dodging the attack effortlessly. His black blade shone brightly and a huge wave appeared on it, flowing around the blade. "Breaking wave," Shui said and slashed. The massive water wave followed the movement of the sword and slammed right into the dragon. A huge splash of water occurred as the silver dragon roared in defiance. "Dragon's roar!" Xiaoru shouted out loud as she thrust her sword forward. The silver dragon opened its mouth wide and unleashed a powerful roar. It echoed throughout the area, shaking everything nearby. "Storm of Sea." Shui responded by unleashing his own technique. A torrential storm raged around him, whipping up powerful gusts of wind. He swung his blade in a circular motion and the storm became bigger. Grass around them was no more, replaced by a muddy field of soil. Shui didn't stop, and the girl also refused to back down. She continued to push forward, slashing wildly with her weapon while dodging his strikes. Each time she attacked, Shui countered with his own techniques. Their duel lasted for several minutes before finally coming to a halt. Both were breathing hard. Both of their faces were covered in sweat, their clothes drenched in perspiration. "I lost." The swordswoman, Xiaoru, was the first one who fell down to her knees when Shui's sword reached her neck. Her sweat drenched her face and her chest heaved up and down. Her breath came out in short gasps. She looked tired and defeated. "It seems I am not strong enough." She sighed heavily and closed her eyes. "No, you're strong," Shui answered calmly. "If you were to reach the next level of stars, you would have no match in terms of sword skill in the entire land." "I am sure." His answer brought a small smile on her face, but it quickly faded. She opened her eyes and stared at the sky, her expression full of melancholy and sadness. "You don't need to console me like that. My talent was inferior compared to my late father. He reached the 8 stars in his prime, but my 7 stars was only because I was blessed by a connection to him, not because of my own hard work and training. If it wasn't for him and his blessing, I would not have reached the 7 stars in this age." Her voice was full of regret, and her eyes were brimming with unshed tears. "I am only lucky to be born as the Wandering Sword Saint's daughter, inheriting the skill he honed all over the years and talent he had." Hearing this, Shui remained silent for a while before speaking. "Then, let's change that." He extended his hand to help her get up from her knees. "Why don't you prove to the world that you're worthy of your name? Show them that you can surpass Wandering Sword Saint. That way, you won't have anything to be ashamed about anymore." He continued. Her eyes widened and she blinked a few times. "What are you saying?" "Come with me. Join my group and I will train you." Shui replied, "I have some experience and team that can make you stronger. If you want to surpass him, you need to improve your strength first. And we can do that. My leader will guide you, but I will train you personally. If I am going to do that, then I need you to trust in me." He paused for a second before continuing. "But, only if you're willing." Silence filled the air as the swordswoman pondered her decision. The offer was tempting indeed. However, it meant that she had to leave her home behind. She looked up at the sky once again, and her mind wandered back to the days when she was younger, and everything seemed so simple. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "I'll go." Xiaoru nodded and stood up on her feet. "I am not staying here anymore. Having nothing left for me, it's best for me to move on. Perhaps, in a different land I can grow better and find my purpose in life again. Perhaps." Shui nodded his head. "We will try to maintain this place as best as we can. My friend has a little bit of expertise in maintaining things." Xiaoru nodded, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. Her eyes shone with determination, and the sadness faded away from her expression. "All right, I trust you. Please take good care of this place." "No matter what, this place was my father and mother's favorite." Shui then helped her get up and the two started walking back to her house. As they walked, the wind picked up and blew through the flowers, creating a beautiful sight. They didn't go immediately. Instead, Xiaoru asked for his help to dig a grave for Wandering Sword Saint, burying his urn and sword near the lake where a small grave was already built for his late wife. "Mother, I hope that fool of a father can meet you and don't wander anywhere in the afterlife. Stay together with mother in peace, father." "I will be fine here," the swordswoman murmured to herself, standing in front of her parents' grave. Her eyes were wet with tears and her cheeks were flushed red, but there was a smile on her face. With that, Shui left for Chengdu, taking along Xiao. In another place, Astrid had just arrived at Beng Manor, riding a carriage. Jack accompanied her as she entered the manor. When she arrived, a servant led them to a meeting room, and she was greeted by a familiar face, Peng Sheng, the head of the Peng clan and her father. He looked older than when they last met. His hair had turned grayer and he seemed to have lost weight, but he was still healthy, except for his legs that weren't functioning. A beautiful woman sat next to him. She was Tang Yuxian, Peng Sheng's wife and Peng Li's mother. They looked at Astrid, who sat next to them with a frown. Peng Sheng looked like he was trying hard not to scowl, but he managed to maintain his composure despite his obvious displeasure. "What's the meaning of this?" he demanded angrily. Astrid didn't flinch or back away, even though she was scared. Instead, she replied with a cold voice. "You asked us to meet you in order to talk about a job that Peng clan wanted to hire from the Mercenary Union." She spoke with a flat tone and an indifferent face, her gaze fixed on them without wavering. "We're here for that reason alone. Please, state your business." She was scared of Peng Sheng, but she had to stay firm and resolute in front of him, even though she felt her heart racing and sweat running down her neck. Still, she held her head high, staring at him with an expressionless look. The man looked taken aback by her response. He glanced at Tang Yuxian and then back again at her before answering. "And why should I?" he retorted. "Because I am responsible for the Mercenary Union branch in this city. I am the branch manager of Mercenary Union, Astrid." "It's an honor to meet you, Lord Peng Sheng. I hope you don't confuse me with someone else," she replied politely and gave him a bow. She knew her status was far below Peng Sheng's and she had to treat him with respect. But not too much, or she would be a doormat. As someone who also held authority, albeit not in the same position as Peng Sheng, Astrid still had to keep her dignity. "Branch manager, you said?" Peng Sheng raised an eyebrow. "You, who was nothing but a useless woman. You, who left your family in shame. You, a disgrace to our name, hold a power and position as high as the branch manager of such an influential organization?" She bit her lip. But she remained silent and kept her gaze locked on Peng Sheng's eyes, not flinching nor averting her gaze. It was hard, but she had to maintain her composure and remain calm in order to deal with this man properly. Her father had never approved of her choices, so it didn't surprise her if he acted like that. "Lord Peng Sheng, if you don't have anything else to discuss, we'll take our leave," Astrid said. "No, stay," a woman next to him interjected, stopping Astrid from standing. "We will continue the talk about the collaboration between the Peng clan and the Mercenary Union. Branch manager Astrid," she said politely. Tang Yuxian, Astrid's mother, smiled at her and nodded. "Thank you for coming to meet us today. I hope we can work out something good together." There was no coldness that Astrid could feel from her. It seemed like she was neutral and open to any suggestion that Astrid had. "All right. What kind of collaboration do you want with the Mercenary Union, Lady Peng?" She sat again and began talking about their deal, not wasting any more time on pointless things. "We wish to hire your organization to protect our clan. There have been some incidents lately, and we believe we need more security measures," Tang Yuxian explained, and then looked at her husband who refused to meet her eyes. He just sat there, glaring daggers at Astrid. "I understand," she replied calmly. "Do you know who your enemy is? What kind of threats do you face?" "We have no clue, and it was always at night." "Night? Huh?" She then pondered a bit, and Jack chimed in, giving advice. "If it's a nighttime assault, it's better to send people to perform a night watch." "An unknown attack always happened at night, huh?" "Such a common thing happened a lot. Most of the time, the culprit was the spy or insider. If not, then it's someone from outside that didn't want to reveal himself." "Yeah, that's why we will need your people." Peng Sheng finally opened his mouth, agreeing with the suggestion. "How much do we have to pay?" An arrogant statement like usual, but that was normal. Astrid had expected this already. The Peng clan had been in decline, but they still had enough wealth and money. "We can send a mercenary group composed of 10 people to guard your manor. Their job will be to keep an eye on your manor, day and night. It will be a permanent job, so we will rotate them regularly," Astrid stated. "As for payment, the normal rate will be applied, 50 gold every month per team. But we can discuss the payment in private after we've established the details. She then turned to Jack, who was writing something on paper. Jack handed her the paper and Astrid checked its contents before handing it over to Tang Yuxian. That will be our first proposal. Upon seeing the paper, both Peng Sheng and Tang Yuxian's eyes widened. 1. They had never seen such a high-quality paper. 2. They never expected Astrid to prepare something like that beforehand. Doing something like this meant they already knew what Peng Clan wanted to discuss. And the content in the paper showed the agreement in terms that both sides could reach. In summary, they were prepared for the negotiation. It wasn't something made on the spot. How scary their information network must have been to know the problem before meeting them. Please look through our offer. I think it should be reasonable enough, Astrid added, but if there are any changes you'd like to make, please tell us and we can discuss the terms again. She gave them some time to look at the paper and consider the offer. While she waited for them to finish reading, she noticed that Peng Sheng's face changed as he looked at the paper. After a moment of silence, Peng Sheng finally spoke up, "We will agree to this, but you have to make sure your mercenaries are trustworthy. And that includes their behavior. I don't want anyone from my house getting assaulted by your men." Understandable. She nodded, and continued, "The Mercenary Union has a set of rules to ensure our clients are protected against any form of harassment or assault. If someone from our side breaks those rules, they will face severe consequences." Astrid paused before continuing her explanation. She wanted to make sure that both of them understood everything clearly before making their decision. "We can sign a contract with your clan, ensuring the safety and security of everyone involved in this deal. If you have a guard arrangement on your own part, our mercenaries can adjust themselves to help you." Astrid then turned her head toward Jack. "Do we have a contract that we can show to our clients?" "Here." Jack nodded and pulled out a sheet of paper, handing it to her. She looked at it briefly and nodded her head in satisfaction, before showing the paper to Peng Sheng. "Is it satisfactory, Lord Peng?" Peng Sheng stared at the contract, and he couldn't help but frown. The content was pretty detailed and easy to understand, and it covered everything that should be discussed. There was nothing wrong with this, and because there was nothing wrong with it, he gazed at Astrid. Her appearance was slightly different from the one in his memory, with her hair cut short and wearing clothes that showed her body lines. However, there was no doubt that she was his daughter. Gritting his teeth, he bore the frustration of not realizing how competent she had become in this short of a time. If she stayed, the Peng clan would prosper even further with the support of the Mercenary Union behind them. She had always been a troublemaker in his eyes, always doing whatever she wanted, not following the rules of the family and not caring about her reputation. To be frank, she had always been a failure for him. Even if he didn't do anything to her, her fate would never change. That was his belief. But now, he had no idea that she would rise up to become a successful woman. And she was already declared dead in public, so there was no way she could go back to being Peng Clan's princess anymore. The fact that he had to deal with her as a representative of Peng Clan also made him feel bitter. Peng Sheng didn't speak again. His face was red from anger, and his hands clenched into fists. His eyes stared daggers at her. He wanted nothing more than to yell at her right now. Seeing her husband acting like this, Tang Yuxian chimed in. She knew what her husband thought about Astrid. The poor girl was treated harshly by him, but it didn't mean she hated her own daughter. Peng Sheng. She warned her husband. "Priority." "I know." "Let's sign the contract," he muttered and nodded to Astrid, who was still sitting there waiting patiently. "You've got a deal." After signing the contract, Astrid left with Jack. The Peng couple looked at them boarding the carriage and going back to their Mercenary Union building. Their expressions were hard to read. Tang Yuxian noticed this and asked him gently. She knew that her husband was not happy with what just happened. "Why are you angry?" "Why wouldn't I?" Peng Sheng snorted and spat out the answer. She, who was just a brat before, already held such a high position. She, that ungrateful brat, even made a deal with me. Her own father. If she hadn't left the family and instead helped us to rebuild our power and prestige, maybe we wouldn't have to face all of this. He continued his ranting as Tang Yuxian remained quiet, letting him vent his anger out until he calmed down enough to think straight. Then she spoke once again. "You're blaming her again for things you can't control." "You know that's not true," Beng Sheng said bitterly. "She was never interested in helping us or the clan. She only cared about herself. And she's the one who caused our clan to lose face." "Was it not you who forced her to marry a bastard of a man from a powerful clan? Was it not you who forced her to live a life she didn't want? Was it not you who disowned her and declared her dead?" Tang Yuxian said sternly. "I have always supported your decision to have her married off for the Peng clan's sake. But you can't deny the fact that you've mistreated your daughter. She was only a child, and yet you've done something so horrible to her." Beng Sheng fell silent. "I know you regret it. You've never been a bad man, but your selfishness blinded you." She sighed. "We should stop thinking about what ifs and think of ways to improve our situation." Thankfully, she didn't fully hate us and give us a reasonable offer. Fine. It was hard to admit it, but his wife had a point. If she was still with the Peng clan, perhaps Beng Sheng wouldn't need to beg for help from a mercenary group. After Peng Li's supposed death, Peng clan had been on decline and he needed the help of others. Not only that, a lot of their members were sacrificed by supreme evil followers, further worsening their condition. He was really at his wits' end and desperate enough to beg for help from anyone. However, what happened just now left him with a sour taste. His ego was hurt. It felt like she was rubbing salt on his wound. In a fit of anger, he threw a nearby vase to the wall, causing a loud crash and a lot of shards to fly everywhere. A servant was called by Tang Yuxian and he immediately cleaned everything. He let out a long sigh and closed his eyes. "What can we do to recover our glory?" "I don't know." "Neither do I." He had no choice but to rely on the mercenaries now. Finishing everything in Qin City, Liu continued to other cities to open mercenary unions branches. There was actually no need to oversee them all, but he wanted to check and knew the branch managers' faces and skills. In every city he went to, the first thing he would do was check on the manager's profile and their skill. Only Chengdu, Qin City, and the capital would have a member of the hallowed insect overseeing the branch directly. He planned to appoint Shirley as the new capital city's branch manager when the situation stabilized. While the other branch managers were from Tang Clan and House Sect. They had enough capable men to manage all the branches and, with House Sect's support, there was nothing he could complain about. It took around a few days for him to finish everything before returning to Chengdu. Turbulence had passed by, leaving an everlasting scar in people's hearts. The grief and sorrow were overwhelming and it felt like a nightmare. Even though it was safe now, no one could ever forget what happened. But time heals all wounds. With the help of the mercenaries, who helped them with their problems, and a new city built, people who worked to restore the order of the city, it would become a peaceful place again sooner or later. Arriving at the hallowed insect's main base, Leo found Jessica sitting leisurely on the sofa, reading a book while listening to some classical music. The scene was peaceful and relaxing, and she raised her head upon noticing his presence. "Leader, you're back." "Hello, Jessica. Is everyone doing fine?" Leo greeted her with a warm smile. "Where is the other?" Closing her book, Jessica rose from the sofa and moved to the couch where she could sat beside him. "Anya took to have fun outside." "Shirley is in the underground arena while Kiaki said she found a strange flower with an interesting effect and took the bike with her. They wouldn't be coming back until later." "Oh, strange flower, you say?" "Yeah. I don't know the details since Kiaki is always busy with research," Jessica said, shrugging, "and it's been quite a boring week for me." "There is no work at all, Leader. The city is peaceful, and we're not called by any clients to do any jobs." "Peace is good." "Yes, truly." Moving closer, Jessica wrapped her arm around him, resting her head on his chest. She listened to his heartbeat for a bit before she looked at his face with a mischievous look. "So, you have time right now, right?" she asked, her eyes glimmering brightly, her cheeks blushing slightly. "You're right. I do have free time." Leo smiled at her. "Want to visit the butterfly pavilion? It seems there is an interesting performance today." Jessica's eyes lit up and she nodded her head enthusiastically. "Yes, I would like that," she exclaimed cheerfully. "Then, let us go. We can also have dinner afterward." And with that, they left together after Jessica changed into the local robe, and went into the butterfly pavilion to enjoy the show. In another place, the underground arena, The atmosphere was different from the calmness of the butterfly pavilion. Screams filled with excitement over sweat and bloodshed. Shirley sat at her usual seat, watching a fight in front of her eyes. The man with his muscles bulging out of his clothes, and the other guy had a slender body with toned muscles. Both were wearing simple martial clothes and wielded a weapon. One of the fighters was wielding two long daggers, slashing and stabbing wildly at his opponent. Meanwhile, his opponent defended himself with two gauntlets, trying to find a chance to counterattack. But he couldn't do much since the dual dagger user was very skilled and he had no room to counter. She waved around them and they were exchanging blows like mad. Sparks flew as their weapons clashed, creating a near-piercing sound as they collided. Each strike was met by an equal blow, creating an endless loop of offense and defense. Double fangs. Suddenly, the dual dagger user screamed out loud, and his dagger shone brightly, emitting an aura that seemed to have turned them into fangs. The daggers were swung down and slashed toward the guy who was wearing the gauntlets. The air whistled sharply as the two weapons slashed toward the man, who raised his arms up in an instant to defend against the attack. Boulder skin. The guy with the gauntlet yelled, and his skin became as hard as rock, repelling the dagger's slashes. A shockwave burst out and the man staggered a bit, but his feet stayed firm, resisting the force of the impact. After that, he took the chance to launch a counterattack with his punch. Elephant fist. His fist slammed into the dagger-wielding guy's chest with full force and knocked him back several meters. The guy was sent flying backward, tumbling across the ground before rolling to a stop. However, before he could even recover from his attack, the dagger guy immediately got back on his feet, ready for another round. His eyes burned with rage, and his face flushed red. His breathing grew heavier as his body tensed up. Seeing the battle was about to end, Shirley sighed and leaned on her seat's armrest. Her expression was one of boredom, as if watching a fight was nothing special anymore. As expected, a few seconds later the guy with the dagger couldn't keep up his pace and finally got hit hard. He spat blood out of his mouth and fell down. His body lay unmoving, but his chest moved up and down, signifying that he was alive but unconscious. Afterward, the fight was declared over and the gauntlet-wielding man became the winner. Cheers and applause filled the arena. People screamed, happy with the result. Of course, where there was happiness, sadness was also present. Those who bet on the dagger-wielding man wallowed in despair. Their money was gone. Amidst such atmosphere, Shirley hung her head lifelessly and muttered, "Ah, this is boring. I want to go home."